All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fights. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night Oliveira versus Gamrot and the Contender Series Week 9, taking a quick look at UFC Vancouver coming up this weekend. And to do all of that with me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, you know him, you love him, the Ohio player, and a man who is not afraid to lift an infant above his head with one hand, Mr. Chase Parton. How are you, sir?
Dude, I'm awesome. It's another great week. Of course, we had a Tuesday of fights, we had a Saturday of fights, and unfortunately, we're winding down of the Tuesday of fights. We'll definitely talk about that, whenever we get the chance. But as of right now, Tuesday we had fights, Saturday we had good fights. Love to see it.
Yeah, parting is such sweet sorrow when it comes to the Contender Series. It is my favorite time of the year, my favorite thing in all of MMA. And, 10 weeks just flies by when it comes to the quality level that we've had this year for sure. Aside from week one, we always have to say that because week one was a little rough, but ever since then, it's been fantastic.
No, 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 no. When I was rewatching it this morning, because I did a rewatch of the Contender Series, specifically this episode, with my dad,
Hmm.
and what it is, this is how every season, and I feel like this is how it's gonna have to be. Is the first couple episodes, there's nothing, there's no bar, there's no standard. People just got to go in there and fight, and call it how it is. And then when you get towards the end of the season, you have all these people who they realize like they have to put it on the fucking line. Like there is no taking the chance where it's boring and I get kicked off in the first season. There is no chance where I screw around and I stall the fight. I got to go in there and I got to fucking kill this guy. And Dana's got to be out of his chair and he's got to be like clapping his fucking head,
They
whatever.
have to like remember it,
Exactly.
yeah, guys later on in the season get like the luxury of being like, oh yeah, we got to go out here to really fight.
Yeah. I,
Yeah,
I,
fair
I
enough.
love it.
Well, we're going to talk about it, but before we do, I think that now is a good time to remind and let anybody else who did not know about what we are doing on Fridays when we have the opportunity to. It can't be every Friday, unfortunately, with scheduling and whatnot. So we don't want to commit to it the same way we commit to Mondays. But when Chase and I are both available, now on Fridays, we are doing what is known as the free for all, where we are taking a look at all of the stories throughout the week that are interesting, funny, sad, all of the cultural elements of the fight world from the fans' perspective, from the fighter's perspective, all the fight culture. We're taking a look at it on Fridays, going through the stories of the week that otherwise may have gotten missed. And we did our first one, or one of the first of the reimagined version of it last Friday. Had a great time with that. So if you are around on Friday nights, make sure that you are in the chat.
Yeah, for sure. No, this one was definitely a good episode on Friday for us. If you guys missed it, I'm telling you, it's got great replay value. This is one of those streams, this one is definitely episodic and follows the storyline that the UFC has created for us. But when it comes to Friday, I mean, you could just replay that at any time because it's just such a good time. I'm telling you.
Absolutely. So shout out to all the people who were in the chat for that one. And shout out to all the people who are in the chat right now on this very show. TJF, Beeb, appreciate you guys very much for being here early. Thank you very much. And everybody else out there lurking, appreciate you as
100%.
well.
Yeah, and to shout out both of Rick Allen's dads, of course. There we go.
Always, absolutely. That loving relationship between the two of those gentlemen.
Yeah,
All right, you want to take a look at the Contender Series, eh?
let's do it.
All right. Well, this was week 9, as we said. Of course, week 10 is the last one, but week 9 is where we are in the timeline here. It started off with Luke Fernandez versus Rafael Pergentino.
Well, what is there to say? This one is hilarious because you have these are light heavyweights, by the way, and you have one of them who tried to be a heavyweight and couldn't make it because he's not heavy enough, but he decided not to ever work out in his life, apparently. Don't know what was going on with that one. But when you come in looking like that, you have to defy the optics. Like, if you're going to be the pudgy fighter, you need to be hard nosed. You got to really bring it to these muscular, muscle bound freaks, whatever you want to say. But he was unable to do that. Luke Fernandez, 15 seconds, just walked in. What do they call it? A cold cock? Like, dude, this dude just fucking mollywopped him, just like
Yeah.
dropped him down to the ground. And it's funny because when you watch it, like Rafael was so content on like letting the ref know like he was good. Like he's like, no, I'm good, but he's just getting punched in the face. Like, and then, ref was just like, yeah, you're.
Yeah, no, you're not. But yes, no, you're absolutely correct. I was going to save this for the fight on the card that's coming up, but I can say it here now because it's the same note basically. When we were on the watch along for the Rio card, Vitz's girl was there with us for a little portion there, and during the Peterson and Petrino fight, she was looking at Thomas Peterson. She's like, they just let people who look like that fight. And I was like, yeah. I mean, at heavyweight, you can weigh, she's like, oh, I guess it doesn't matter after a certain amount. And I was like, yeah, you don't have to be an amorphous kind of blobby guy. Like you can be muscular, but some of these guys just are not. And then it got me thinking that it's like, it's been a long time in this sport. There's a few that we have a couple left. Like, maybe Derek Lewis might be when he's out of, sometimes he'll get abs randomly, but when he doesn't have them, he's one of the few left of these like blobbier dudes who can go out there and really just power their way through the division. But like the era of the big country Roy Nelsons is kind of in the past now. So some of these guys got to catch up, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Tafas, look at Ty. I mean, that style of just being a tough guy without actually putting in the physical, work kind of deal. Like, dude, you guys got to actually get on the treadmill a couple times. Like, I know you're not planning to get far, but like, at least don't make me look at you and instantly say, no, no fucking way. Like, these are professional athletes. That's the problem. Like, that's just, I don't know.
Yeah, no, and my thing with it, like, it's in my mind at least. Now, obviously every body's going to be different. Every, fighter and their style is going to be a little different. But what I would think is that if you are big enough to make the weight, like, how much better could you be if you did put a little effort into your physique? I'm not saying that you have to be cut and chiseled or whatever, but like your cardio could be better. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of elements that might be improved by like, and you can even eat more. You can take that extra weight that you're taking off and turn it into muscle with more food. Like it's a win-win for you if you actually try.
If you actually think about it, Hydra is making a really good point here. The rules aren't stopping anyone from looking like Francis Ngannou, just your work ethic and, of course, genetics. But
Right.
no, this dude, it's the same thing. If you think back to Jose Medina last season, when he was on the Contender Series, he was very fluffy. He had a belly. We see people who do, they have a little something. But when he got to the UFC, he cut and he actually dropped the weight down. He came in with abs. He sucks, but like, hey, he at least tried. This guy here, this is your opportunity. I know these are like short notice kind of things. Like, you get your opportunity and it's like come or go. Like he obviously couldn't have made a fucking six pack in at the amount of time that they gave him, but like maybe this is your opportunity to think like maybe I can fight at 170. Like I'm very fluffy at 205. Like I don't know. So
Yeah, well, or turn it into muscle if you have the ability to. I guess is what more my thing. You know what I mean? It's like because like how tall? We don't have the full tail of the tape here with their stats, but I mean both these guys were decently tall enough. I mean, like we're not talking about hobbits here. I would think that if they tried to just put more muscle on the frame, they could still make the heavyweight. You know what I mean? Like they could still be heavyweights, just muscular ones.
yeah, I don't know. This one was. I mean, we're given more talk than the actual fight itself. That's the
Word.
craziest part. I'm not trying to dog on bro too much. Like that. I'm just in general. Like I'm sure he's a hell of a fighter. If he gets a different opportunity and against not somebody who's minus 1,200. But you know, if this is gonna be your mindset, where like I'm that good. I don't really have to look the part. You're going to be a professional athlete one way or another, even if you made this or not. Like you're still a professional somewhere or will be later. We need to have the image of a professional fighter. Like don't be looking like the dudes in the backyard. That's just all I'm asking, I guess.
Well, I mean, either that or you go out and you actually kick ass, and that's the other
Yeah.
side of it. If you go out there and run through people, then you get away with it.
Earn your belly, I think, is really what we're saying here.
Bingo, exactly. And I mean, and to be clear, this is not specific to this one person, Pergentino.
Yeah.
The stuff I was saying, obviously, I don't
Yeah,
want to
no, he seemed.
pile
I
on this guy
mean, he
either.
seemed like a cool dude. I mean, it is what it is. Again, at minus 1,200, this was just a feeder fight. So it's just what happened was exactly what should have happened according to Vegas. So
Right, exactly. And fun fact, when I'm watching the fights on the watch along, a lot of the time I'm hanging with chat. I'm not really paying too close attention to their backstories. But upon rewatch, Luke Fernandez, an Orlando, Florida product. So shout out to the hometown hero over here getting the job done and getting a contract.
yeah, 100%.
And also shout out to Hydra coming in as well. Appreciate you, brother. Next up was Luis Felipe Diaz versus Donovan Hedrick. This was a little bit more involved, this fight. This went on for a little bit longer, a good amount of wrestling scrambles and that kind of thing, but a lot of Diaz really putting in the work on that one.
This one was actually weird because I remember specifically Elite saying in the call, like, this guy, Dana's not going to give this guy a contract. Dana doesn't want to give this guy a contract, I can tell you. It's kind of what he said. Obviously, the way that it ended up, Dana specifically said, I wasn't going to do it. We talked with Mick or whatever, But I thought this was actually a pretty good showcase, especially when I look at the line in hindsight. Like, if Dana would said what he said and this dude was a minus 800 or something, okay, you didn't finish your guy and you're an 8-1 favorite, yada yada yada, but like he came in as a slight dog and I thought this was a pretty good performance. Like, they were going at it. It wasn't obviously a firefight, but like they were they were brute strengthening their way through a lot of these encounters, I thought. So it wasn't like it wasn't your very striking technical masterclass kind of deal, but like you could tell like these are two dudes who were trying not to let each other get muscled around. And I thought that was a good I don't know, I thought this was pretty good. Like Luis Felipe, he gave me when I was watching his promo package, I was like, this guy, he kind of has like a mindset, like, I don't know, he gave me like an Alex Bajeda thing. And I know that's crazy. I'm not comparing his skill set, of course.
Right.
Just the way that he was carrying himself, the way that he thought about his skill set. I don't know. Just it seemed like Alex to me. I was like, Shama, man, Shama.
Yeah.
So but it came in, wasn't the greatest. Obviously, got a fucking submission win too, which is actually the late finish sub. I thought it was a great performance. Dana was a little tripping on this one, but I can understand other people felt that way. Maybe I was reading too much into like, yeah, this is the next Shama right here. I don't
Well, it's tough because it's like when you have, because this is very wrestle heavy, I think
know.
is really the big note of it. And when you have a very wrestle heavy style, we know, you just said it earlier in the stream, when you come to the Contender Series, there's a way that you're expected to fight. If your style is based in wrestling, then the only thing you can really do is go out there and be so dominant in your wrestling that you take it to the grappling, take it to the finish, whatever, get your submission early, and that's a dominant performance. But like Hendrick was really not very slouchy in this fight, so
Hmm.
it was like it was a more even. The odds tell the story, very close odds. It was almost a pick 'em. So I mean, it was an even matchup. So like this was really the kind of fight that you get out of it. So I think that it's unfair of Dana to to have a grander expectation when you have two guys who actually were both putting an equal level of effort in, and then to say, oh well, I was on the fence. You did get a submission. You did finish the fight. It's like, come on, bro. I mean, like really, you got to be a little bit understanding that like not everybody's going to go in there and just knock heads off. I guess maybe you saw
Yeah.
Luke Fernandez out back there just walking in and bombing a guy, so maybe they jaded a little bit.
And to be fair, this is Dana, and you know, who knows how he sits on it. After he watches it, he's like, okay, probably that's a good finish, good. And then after a while, he's probably like, because we see the fights that happen a little, after, and he's probably like, it wasn't that good, so maybe he comes down off of it. He waits, he thinks on it for a little bit. That's why he does it at the end of the show and not right after the fights. Obviously, we'll talk
Yeah,
about here, but
right.
I thought this was a really good performance, and I think this dude will be decent at middleweight because he's got, I don't know, he's just got a little bit of something everywhere, I felt.
Yeah,
And then
definitely well rounded. I'm half and half on how I think he'll fare in the organization. I think I need to see a little bit more. Yeah, I need to see.
29 too. I mean,
Yeah, I just need to see a little bit more variety of the competition just to see how he handles other fighters. I think because of the style that he has, because when you are that wrestle heavy, there's a lot, like you're basically extending the amount of fighting that you're going to have to do at any given fight if you instantly are going for takedowns. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
unless you really are just able to, chain wrestle yourself to a submission, then there's going to be more leeway for your opponent. So I'm hesitant to be like in on the guy just yet. But certainly a fine performance here. I was definitely reasonably impressed. I thought that he
Yeah.
did well. One thing I did want to mention before we move on from this fight, though, is that Luis Felipe Diaz has a very oddly shaped body, and I say like I don't I want to say like it's kind of remarkable, but like not in like a wow, he's a physical specimen. He is very muscular, but what it is that it looked like when a kid draws a person like really muscular in the top, but then they just sort of like trail off when they're doing the lower body. Like he's got a super huge back, he's got crazy pecs, his arms are really big, and then his midsection in his torso, his ab area, it just goes like super tight inward, and then just like he's like a stick underneath. It's like he's top loaded, basically, this guy.
So he's what they say John Jones was built like, is what you're saying. Like, his legs just are so skinny and just.
I mean, it's not even that the legs are skinny. It's just that everything is smaller compared to the upper body.
Okay.
It's like I'm telling you, it's like a T, but the top line of the T is just much larger than the post of the
I
T.
always felt Stipe was kind of stubby towards the leg area and really large in the torso. But
Stipe wishes that he had the definition of this guy.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know. It was just something that I picked up on, and the only other thing that I picked up on was, unfortunately, of course, Hendrick did not get a contract, but he looks like Trevor Noah in the face.
yeah, that's all right. That's pretty good. But no,
these are the notes, brother. I don't know what to tell you.
I often question, when we see some of these people, like, what do they feed them, right? And then we often, see them come from specific regions and stuff. It's like, yo, Brazilians, like, top tier genetics, apparently. Like, these guys just genuinely can come into a fight after cutting weight and rehydrating and just look like fucking Thanos. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so that, that also goes back to our previous conversation. If you are Brazilian and built like a round shape, then you really don't have an excuse, I think.
I think that's true. I think that dude actually was Brazilian, so let's not pick on him too much more. But yes,
again, it was not specific to him. That's a broader note than just.
Yeah.
Don't show this stream to Pergentino. I think he'd be very upset with us. But
yeah.
Anyway, let's move on here.
Yeah.
Next up, I was so happy about this. This is my boy Imanol Rodriguez representing Mexico versus Roque Conceição. And, I had said Imanol, of course, is coming off of The Ultimate Fighter. He did not win The Ultimate Fighter, but I had said he was my pick to win The Ultimate Fighter when the show was on. That did not happen, but I was always a big fan of this guy. He comes back on the Contender Series, and unlike Chapolin, he actually gets the job done.
Yeah, no, I definitely like Imanol. He was one of the favorites in Tough. One of my favorite characters in Tough. Of course, he was always listed as 5'2" in Tough, which I thought was always so crazy short. Like, you guys got to understand, that's 2 inches shorter than Josh Van. Like, that's ridiculously short. When he came into the UFC, they have him listed at 5'4", and I will actually say, he did kind of look a little taller. I don't know, maybe he is young. He could still be growing a little bit.
Camera angles on the show.
I don't know. He looked a little taller. So shout out to Imanol, because I mean, he did exactly what he was touted to be able to do. I mean, this is a true to life Mexican boxer in the UFC. I mean, this dude can just put your lights out at flyweight. Like, you guys got to understand, again, he is a flyweight. So his game is speed and power. And I tell you, he's got both of them. Like, when you look at somebody like, I know I just talked about Josh Van. When you look at somebody like Josh Van, it's volume, it's volume, and he wears you down. But with somebody like Imanol, it's, balls to the wall, all gas, no brakes instantly. And if you shoot, you're not getting it. And I'm just going to lay you out. And like, the way that he finished it, is this like broken or something? Did this dude really not throw a single punch? Like, I swear that's not right.
Yeah, that can't
He
be
knocked
right.
him down. He knocked him down, I'm pretty sure. Like, I think he knocked Imanol down, or Imanol slipped, and then Imanol came back and fucked him over like 3 different times, but then finished him.
Yeah, because
Right.
I mean, he at least had to have thrown something
Yeah,
for
yeah,
fuck's
no,
sake.
that's
I mean,
definitely
yeah,
broke. That's definitely broke.
yeah, that can't be correct. Yeah, because he's good on the if you're just listening on the stats, it's like a goose egg all the way
Yeah.
down. So that's probably just not correct. But either way, I mean, like honestly, from the Conceição side of things, I felt bad for the guy a little bit because when we had talked about earlier in this season, I think that there was another flyweight fighter. It might have been on a previous card, but it was recently. There were some flyweights that were fighting, and we were like, they were super slow. I mean, like it was like, you can't be slow at flyweight.
Right.
This was way more down the line what you should be at flyweight. These were both fast guys, hands flying, moving around, very, a quick pace to everything. And the speed of Eminol also is paired with very accurate striking. So the combination was right there for him. So I mean, Roque over here could be a much better fighter than he was allowed to be in this fight, perhaps. But Eminol was just on his game, and then of course, as we had said before, you come off of the Ultimate Fighter, you're kind of coming in with a little bit of an unfair advantage. I mean, you had a full season of UFC caliber training and coaching. Then going into this, your opponent's getting whatever he's getting. So I want to hope that Conceição can come back and take another shot at it. But I want to also shout out Eminol for one other reason. Aside from this fantastic performance, talk about a high IQ move. This guy was on the Ultimate Fighter. He was on Daniel Cormier's team. He felt that he was getting such good training from Daniel Cormier. He went and joined Daniel Cormier's team IRL outside of the show. So he's training with Cormier full time. Cormier was there with him. DC was in the crowd cheering him on. And how about the the level that he has gained from that? I mean, granted, he probably had a good base to begin with, but what a great thing to do. You find a coach that you click with, you feel like it's good training, and you go all in on that good training. I think that was fantastic.
So speaking of DC being in the crowd for this episode, and because he is the coach of Emanol, there was that one episode where he was also coaching and on commentary. Don't you remember something like
Where he
that?
jumped in to do his power rankings, even though he wasn't on commentary. Yes, I do remember.
But I feel like there was another instance where it was something even more sketchy it was maybe the Korean Zombie, how he was doing commentary, but then he was also the corner of something else in Singapore. But either way, uh, not Singapore, but either way, I think something like that happened. I don't know why that's sticking out to me and why that's really bothering me now that I can't remember it. But Emanol, great performance. DC being his coach is really, really good. If he's going to stay with him, I mean, solid, but he doesn't really need, I mean, when it comes to growth, I mean, he's obviously on a good path, but he's got this skills that all you got to do is hone in on what you're really, really good at. Learn all the other stuff, learn to defend off your back, of course, especially because when you get to the high level, Pantoja, I mean, he's just going to maul you. But right now, speed, power, just keep knocking heads off. I mean, that's all you can say. So
Absolutely, and he certainly did that here. So I was very happy about this. Really excited to see him in the organization. He's a guy that I do think has a high ceiling. I think he's going to do pretty okay.
mm.
Yes. All right. So moving on to the fight that everybody's been talking about here. We talked about it a little bit on the Friday show. This is kind of gave you a teaser for what we're going to be saying here, but this is Adrian Luna Martinetti versus Mark Vologdin is how you pronounce it. Vologdin, but Vologdin from Russia there. This fight, after, having watched it initially, it was certainly drew your attention. I mean, like, some of these other fights, sometimes it's like, you're kind of there and it's like, oh yeah, great knockout, okay, this is a little bit more of a back and forth, whatever. This is the type of fight that when this is going on, you stop what you're doing and you are glued to the screen. And upon rewatch, just as good, really. If you have not seen this fight, it is for free on the UFC's YouTube page. Go and watch this fight.
Yeah, this one is absolute madness. Like these dudes, and when I tell you, like this is, oh, gosh, when obviously Vologdin, I think is kind of the hero of the story in this one. Like these dudes were awesome, of course, but like I think when people watch this, like even when my dad was watching it, like he's like, man, that little guy is just not giving up. He's just not letting him push him around. Shit like that. So I think he's really the underdog here. Watching him not give up, take literally every shot imaginable. It is absolutely insane. But you gotta understand how much credit you have to give to Martinetti. He could throw and land every shot in the book that would probably make somebody else fold. And dude, Volagdin, like, this dude's just not a fucking pushover. And he did get pushed over, but it's not because he was bad.
Yeah,
He
certainly not for lack of trying. Of course, this guy was in there, bro.
Dude, I mean, listen, I know Mank, he hates when this happens. The Latino chin comes out and we get somebody who in any other fight, Volagdin would have just mauled this dude after one of these massive hooks, uppercuts. His dirty boxing was slick. He was in and out in the first round. He was getting all different angles and he was bombing Martinetti. But what Martinetti has, not everybody else is able to pull out. He's got the genetics to just eat massive shots and never wear a single cut on his face.
Yeah,
So
which is really insane to think about, considering that he is one of the least like intimidating looking people on the planet. Like that's also, I think, a big tale of this thing was that Martinetti is out there. You know, he's kind of tall, a little bit, not super tall, but he's taller than Volagdin. He's a little bit lanky. You know, he's got the shaggy hair. He looks like any run of the mill dude his age that you just be seeing walking down the street. He goes in there and he's just throwing volume striking with precision in just time after time after time. You know, Lorisenko made a good point on the commentary at one time when he's in the tie clinch just bombing these knees. She's like, it looks like he's running drills. He's like,
yeah,
it was like the drills that you do in Muay Thai class. Like this guy was just a machine, but Volagdin also a machine. So it's like it really was the immovable object, the unstoppable force going at it. And it was a joy to watch. To your point about Volagdin, being able to take out other competition. There was one shot that he landed in the first round before, they really were getting into it. He landed a spinning wheel kick that would have taken the head off of 90% of the planet. Like it landed flush. That's how you know the Latino chin is on point for Martinetti, because this dude ate this spinning wheel kick that would have crippled other people. So yeah, this was just it was crazy two-way action. Martinetti with the volume, Volagdin never given up, ended up getting a massive crater size chunk taken out of his forehead. He had a hole right above his eyebrow for a good amount of this fight. Based doctor allowing this thing to continue, but Volagdin doing the damn thing through a lot of adversity.
there's so much. Obviously, the fight is a fucking war, and you get the cut with Volagdin, and then the real story comes, and I think there's moments before and after and during that I want to talk about. So the ref comes in, or the doctor comes in, and he checks on him, and he's like, he can go a little more, and the ref's like, do you want to go? Of course, like, get the fuck back in there, dude. I love it. In the moment, I'm like, oh my god, like that's a really bad cut. Like I'm hoping. In the moment, I was like, you could call it right now. They'll both get a contract, no big deal. But like, the fact they let it go on, it's like, all right, and he's game as fuck for it. So then, at the beginning of the third round, my dad's rewatching it. They don't do a glove touch, and he's like, oh, they gotta hug it out after that. And I'm like, you know what? I see people hug all the fucking time in the third round, and they ain't done jack fucking shit.
True.
These dudes understood. We got a job to do. We'll and even at the end, they acknowledge, like, man, I ain't never had a fight like that, man. Shout out you. And that's what, when you have such a competitive drive and you're in a game like this and you're somebody as skilled as Martinetti, all you can ask is that somebody gives you the opportunity to just showcase every skill that you have worked on up until this point. And I genuinely think Martinetti, dude, this dude is top tier when it comes to striking. I mean, holy shit. He was even getting takedowns. He was controlling them on the top. This dude is, 17-1 ain't for nothing, it looks like. I mean, this dude is a fucking G. But Volagdin, they're both awesome. This is even, it's funny. My dad, he was like, their first fight should be against each other. They should match it up again. And I actually fucking love the idea.
No, see, all right. Well, I'm glad that you said that, because I disagree entirely, and I actually thought this through. What I would like to see is both of these guys go as far from each other as possible, and then build up independent of one another, go through in the organization, both get on some really nice win streaks, and then we have the best rematch of all time with a storyline to match it.
See, I think, unfortunately, in this sport, with how much goes on, I don't think you can play the long con like that. Like, I mean, you just got the greatest fight of all time, you know, basically. Are you gonna risk what happened to Lonnie Kavanaugh or Josh Van? Josh Van came back from it, but like, are you gonna risk one of these dudes finally getting just annihilated and then they never meet up and we lose out on the greatest fight of all time too? I mean, we can always do a trilogy. I mean, I don't give a fuck if Vologdin is down 2-0. Get him back in there a third time. I don't care.
I
So
mean, there's a case to be made, but I think that if these guys can, so I at least give them one each, somebody else, to see if they
fair.
can repeat against somebody else. Maybe then you can do it again earlier. But I just think that, if they both continue to fight the way that they fought here, they're going to be formidable foes to anybody in the organization. We talk a lot about how we think that these guys are going to fare, anybody on the Contender Series, how they're going to fare in the organization. This is two that I'm like, these guys are going to be fine. Like, this is the level that you need to be at, and both of them are there. So like, I just think that they're going to go in there, both get some nice wins. Shit, throw them a softball if you really want to. If you really want to just set it up for a rematch, I'd be okay with that. Even there's a rare exception to the rules with that. With just giving a guy something to feed him, but I would be fine with that. I think that for the real ones, for the ones that have been there since this fight, that you give them a little bit of time to grow, and then you bring it back, and then it's like you reintroduce the entire storyline. I think that there's plenty that you can milk off of that.
Yeah, I'm actually just, I don't know, I'm just fascinated with the fact that Martinetti was a dog coming into this fight. And he 17-1, 16-1 at the time. What were they thinking? Because Volodin is good, don't get me wrong. I mean, the power that he had, yeah, like I said, any other genetic species going out, lights out, but not Ecuador apparently. Looks like Ecuador is keeping alive when it comes to granite chins on the checklist, because these guys, I'm telling you, Martinetti, I mean, he said at the end of the fight, like, I want you to remember my name, brother. I have no problem. Martinetti is not very common. I tell you one thing. And
I mean, that 90% of the names on the Contender Series like go in one ear and out the other. I mean, not intentionally, but like when you're in the organization, I will remember you based on what you do there. And if you get a memorable win, sometimes like people like Malcolm Wellmaker, I'll remember that. But
what's
like,
Jean Paul Lebesh something
oh
something.
yeah, Lebosnoyani. Yes,
There we
okay, there
go.
you go. Yes, so there, yeah, again, rare exceptions, but how you think about the ones that you can remember, and then the volume of ones that either don't make it in the organization, or you're still waiting to see them debut. You will remember them over time if there is a reason to. They gave you a reason to up front.
Yeah, 100%. I'm genuinely a big fan of both of them. This is, listen, eras flip and tides change. Marab is the champ of bantamweight, but brother, we got two on the way right now that are going to be. I mean, these are formidable foes. I mean, listen, Vologdin could probably get taken down by Marab every single time, but it looks like to me he might be able to get up every single time. So shout out to him. I'll give him that.
Yeah, and early, I mean, they both have a decent record of, a decent amount of fights under their belt, but still, in the grand scheme of things, somewhat early. They're obviously early to the UFC, so there could be room to improve for both of them, which is crazy to think about because they're already at a pretty high level. But this could just be the beginning of that new wave that you're talking about. So let's see what they can do. They both got contracts. We didn't mention that on this show, but after this, since they both had to go to the hospital, before even reading out the contracts of everybody else, Dana made a special announcement that both guys get contracts and both got a $25,000 bonus. That's the quality level of this fight.
Yeah, you forgot also both guys went to the hospital after this
Oh, that's
fight.
what I said that they. Yeah, no, I did. I mentioned that. Yeah,
That's well,
go
no,
on.
well. I think that's the funniest part is I wanted to make a point on this specific show to everybody. Only one guy needed to go to the hospital, so
True.
I mean, shout out to my dad. He was like, that other guy got punched a lot in the head too. I'm like, all right, let's calm down. He was fine. He walked away. But either way, you could also tell, which was really funny. Martinetti, when he left the cage, like the camera was following him out, you could tell the adrenaline was wearing off of him. He was getting real like he was
Oh,
falling out of it a little bit.
when
It
when
was
you
good.
when you said that, he was like, "Oh, remember my name," he kept talking and just started basically going into gibberish at that
Yeah,
point.
I
Like
know, I know. I was like, "Holy shit, they need to get him backstage quick." Yeah,
yeah, for real, energy dump for real, but completely understandable. As
yeah,
was, and honestly, like, I think in the initial watch, I had thought that they kind of gassed out a little bit more so than they actually did in that third round. Upon rewatch, that third round was even still pretty competitive. I mean, they
yeah.
were both still going for it. Obviously, after the two rounds that they just had, they were a little bit slower, but like it wasn't like they were walrusing out there. I mean, they were still trying to get the shots off. Fucking Vologden goes for a Rolling Thunder. I mean, like it was just like, how much more can you pack into this fight? You know?
I actually think it's specific to no. So after the first round started a little slow and then it picked up towards the end. The second round started a little slow and you start to think like, oh, okay, Volagdin definitely gassed. Look how muscular he is. Like he's very sheltered as of right now. Martinetti's pushing him up against the cage. And then the second round starts to get a little crazy and you see Volagdin basically he 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 was holding all this energy at the beginning of the second round and then he was able to burst at the end of the second and Martinetti was able to match that energy, so it was nail to fucking hammer, whatever you want to say, for the rest of the second round. Third round starts and it's also a little slow, and then you're wondering like, these guys, no way are they gonna like make it, like this is where it's gonna slow down, of course, but no fucking way. They just continue to just never run out of energy, which is crazy too, because when you think of like a fight with like Renato Moicano and fucking Benil Dariush, you watched Moicano's arms like physically stop being able to like punch after he was so tired. They had no fucking problem here. So this was pretty crazy. I mean, this was like superhuman
Yeah.
performance right here.
It reminded me of two kids in high school who had hated each other and wanted to fight all year. And it finally got to the time that they were going to throw down. And they both were like, I am not going to lose this fight. I hate you so much. But
Yeah,
I mean, they obviously no ill will towards each other, of course, in this fight. But that just is the feeling that you got just seeing the way that Martinetti was just, I'm telling you, the volume striking with the precision. He landed at one point in that first round, I want to say somewhere in the range of like 12 shots to the body at one time. Like it really was just boom, 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 all like it just in a blink of an eye. I mean, it was, yeah, it was I'm telling you, like we can talk about individual points of this fight. Just watch the damn thing.
yeah, for sure. Definitely watch it. Go to the YouTube channel on YouTube on go to the UFC YouTube channel, excuse me, and watch this fight. It is on there free.
Absolutely. So, yeah, like I said, we can talk about it all day long. Go and watch the fight. It was fantastic. And I cannot wait to see both of these guys in the organization.
100%. 25K deserved for sure.
Well deserved. Absolutely. And then to end this thing off, it's unfortunate that was not the featured bout, considering how amazing it was. But this was not a bad fight either, actually. This was Lucas Kaldas versus Magomed Zainukov. And Zainukov is very much a machine himself. He was really sharp with his striking and relentless. Kaldas was not terrible, but he low IQ moves towards the end of this fight because he ended up getting a point deduction for eye pokes after being warned several times. Now, granted, he is from Brazil, probably does not speak English very well, whatever. But I mean, when the referee is going, "Hey, don't do that," and kind of push the fingers out of his hands, popping the fingers out to let him know what he's talking about, and the guy just blatantly eye pokes again. It's like, dude, you were doing yourself no favors already by getting your ass whipped. Now you are really doing yourself no favors by now having a point deduction on top of it.
I mean, this was John Pork. Everybody, if you guys forgot, this is our boy John Pork, and he came in here and he put on a really good performance. I mean, obviously put on like historic numbers for Contender Series, but Dana really shows his bias sometimes. I mean, the fact that we had a close to the line dog come in here, get a late-ish sub in the second round, started a little slow, and he's on the fence about it. He has to have Mick fucking tell him, but he's glazing the hell out of a dude who goes all the way to the fucking bell as a minus 370, and he's supposed to be the striking killer. I mean, he had a lot of volume, and he did a lot of very good, interesting things. I'm not going to dispute that, but like, I feel like Dana should have had a little more criticism for this. Like, where's the why aren't you finishing this guy? I mean, you're the main fucking event of the Contender Series, whatever you want to say. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I think that with Zainukov, I think it was because like the power in the striking was also there, so it was like even if he didn't get the finish here, then maybe the potential for the finish seemed like it could be on display. But you're right. I mean, close only counts in fucking horseshoes, right?
right? But it's like, where's the you're 7-0. You're supposed to you're 7-0, and I think he had 100% finish rate at the time. Now you can't finish a guy on you're some random Brazilian on the Contender Series. Like, where's some criticism, Dana? Like, this is a dude who's 6-1. I mean, he has the same level of experience as you. You've knocked out everybody with the same amount of experience of you so far. You're telling me this is where your experience uh, gap stops. Like, this is where you met your match. Contender Series, just the random Brazilian who's 6-1. Now you can't knock anybody out. I've seen people knock people out well into their UFC career. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Sure. Well, I think that Hydra's making a good point here that Dana saw the beard and just, his heart was a flutter. That Dagestani, it's a look. And, I mean, I guess, it might not be for everybody, but it certainly is for Dana.
Hear me out. How close do you think we are? Because we have PIs in a lot of different locations. We got one in China, right?
Yes, Shanghai.
Okay, and then we got one in Mexico.
Mm.
With a lot of the representation that we have towards this area, Dagestan-ish, and with how friendly we are. Where's Dana putting this PI over in the area of Dagestan?
Won't happen. Won't happen because Habib is too strong, and he is it's the Habib show over there. It's Eagle MMA all day long. So if Habib is doing enough work and the relationship is strong enough there that I don't think that Habib wants to anybody to cross over into his territory, let alone the organization.
Well, it's a damn shame. We could have a lot of these guys being brought up out of there because, and if we don't, we could just have people like how I think this guy should have been. We'll send you to the PI and then we'll pull you up when you're ready. Like, that's what I think should have been here. There should be, because, like, dude, I mean, you land 247 strikes, you threw 401. You're telling me not one of them dropped this? I mean, okay, one of them dropped him on his ass. Okay, but like, you couldn't put him out after that, dude? Like, I don't know. I'm just a little skeptical.
Well, I mean, I think that Habib acts as the PI, and really, the other side of that is, do you really want more dudes who are just going to come over and wrestle fuck?
This shout out props to this dude. I'll give this dude the same amount of props that I gave Saeed Nurmagomedov, and I'll give Muslim Salikov. These guys are actually strikers. Like, they actually come in here and they it's not that they don't strike in the way that the wrestlers wrestle. It's not like they're here to they're going to get the victory even if it's boring. The strikers are actually here because they want to practice the art. Shara Bullet is another one. They want to practice the art of creative strikes. Like, that's genuinely what they're here to do. And they go in there and they do it. We see spin kicks. We see a lot of, this guy specifically, a lot of teep kicks, elbows. I think it's very impressive when they come in and they're strikers because they normally do it at a very high level. It's not just like some bum doing spin kicks.
No, and I do want to clarify that this guy specifically was not that
Yeah,
part of that statement. He was striking really well, actually, and that's why I was saying earlier, like the striking led one to believe that he had power in the hands. So I'm just talking more. If you had a Dagestani PI, you'd
yeah.
get a lot of that. But the Zainukov I thought was really. I didn't realize that he was John Pork. I thought that he was on last week, but okay, this is him.
This should be John Pork. Let's see if ESPN has updated his nickname. No, it hasn't. But no, this is John Pork. Yeah, this is
Okay,
him.
so yes,
Abdul Manap Nurmagomedov Martial Arts School. That's funny
uh,
that he's literally from the camp. That's
what did
hilarious.
I? Come on, brother. There's one way to victory in Dagestan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought worthy of the contract for sure. I mean, it was a dominant performance. Caldas was really falling behind early in this fight. Stayed in it obviously, but he needed to do a lot more. And then of course, the point deduction on top of things really, messed up his chances completely. So there was really no coming back for him aside from a finish, which he was not going to get. So yeah, John Pork making his way into the organization and with a little bit of aura on top of it, considering that he has that that nickname and the story, if you want to hear my live reaction to finding out about the John Pork lore, you can go back to our Friday stream from last week. But yeah, I don't know. I'm sure I want to see. I want to see more of John Pork. Why not? Maybe we'll
Yeah.
get the Nate Diaz fight.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely certain that John Pork's going to be kind of a street legend when it comes to memes and nicknames. And, people are going to know John Pork. When his fight comes up, it's like, dude, John Pork's fight. We're going to see the memes all over the place. And it's going to be great. Maybe he'll get on a card with Islam. They just put, I don't know if you saw it, but they just announced some cards and that are going to be on the MSG card. Where's John Pork's? Where's him on the Islam card? So whatever.
Did they announce all the way to that? I mean, that does complete the contender series. I was going to bring that up. We did have some announcements today. So yeah, that just to close this out, that is week 9 of the contender series. Zainukov, Vologdin, Martinetti, Rodriguez, Diaz, and Fernandez all got contracts. So 5 fights, 6 contracts. Love to see it. That all being said, we did get some fight announcements today. So do you want to go over a couple of those?
Actually, I think I have one last thing to note
Sure.
about the contender series, which I think is kind of funny. Now that I think about it, so Dana in the post talks, Laura asked at what point did he know that he was gonna give them the bonuses or whatever, and he was like, I don't really know, but I had ESPN producers texting me saying this fight was fucking awesome, and I'm now thinking. Sucks that they just lost the fucking deal, doesn't it? I mean, now that they love the fucking fights, I mean, sucks that they're moving to Paramount, ain't it? So,
Really? Man, I must have missed that.
what, the Paramount deal? I mean,
No,
it's coming off of ESPN.
yeah, no, I know Dana commenting on it
Oh
on
yeah,
ESPN. That's actually very interesting because I had noted, I don't know if it was last week or one of the previous weeks before it, but Dana was wearing a UFC on Paramount shirt on the Contender
yes,
Series. So obviously we had already speculated that there was a little bit of negativity behind the scenes between the organization and ESPN. Now with their new home fully solidified, I guess maybe there's a little bit more that Dana's more comfortable, being a little bit more vocal about.
right, yeah. So it was definitely pretty funny, but yeah, that's goofy on them.
Yeah,
So
but so okay, there you go. Good note. So as far as fights go that we had just got announced, we got 323 was announced with Marab making short turnaround, coming back in December to take on Piotr Jan in the rematch. This is the fight that I and a lot of people I think were saying, if he can beat Piotr Jan one more time as the champion, then this solidifies GOAT status. I was very happy that it's Piotr Jan. And then the other fight that was the big deal, that'll be the co-main of that event, is Alexandre Pantoja versus Joshua Van. And Josh Van, of course, one of your favorite fighters, Chase. So I think we're both getting what we want out of this card.
we're getting some pretty good ones. Let me go ahead and finish the slew of fights.
Sure.
So Jan Blachowicz will take on Bogdan Guskov,
Love it.
UFC 323. Henry Cejudo will take on. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Peyton Talbot.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess that'll be an interesting one, actually. That could be a passing of the torch thing. I mean, I don't
We
know. We'll
still
see.
got more.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
Brandon Moreno. This is one I really like. Will take on Tatsuro Taira.
Love it.
That's on
That's,
the. That's these are all on the same card, by the way. Three
yeah,
twenty three.
this is stacked.
Okay. Next, Fares Zaim. Zaim.
Zayam, yeah.
Uh, will take on Nazim Sadikov.
You talk about a people's main event right there. That is a banger of a fight right there.
Okay, mate. All right. It keeps going.
Yeah.
So we got Chris Duncan. Will take on Terrence McKinney.
Oh, yeah, this really is a great card. What a way to end the year.
Okay, so now we're moving. This is going to be on UFC 322. This is Sean Brady will take on Michael Morales.
Saw that one. Yes, excited for that one. I really like that. That's a good style matchup.
Okay, we still got more. This is on. This is back to the 323 card, just for clarification. Grant Dawson will take on Manuel Torres.
All right.
Yep, and I think that might be the last of them. I think that's the last. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, this is just random to know. Austin Bashi's out for UFC Vegas 111. Hyder Emil is now stepping in to fight Jamal Emmers. That happened.
That's a
So
good fight. Yeah, I
yeah,
can dig that. All right,
yeah.
cool. There you go. So yeah, so some fight announcements today. Dana in the war room giving us the updates, and that's a little late breaking news for you. So a couple really good fights on there. Yeah, we're gonna close this year out very strong.
Hell yeah.
All right. Well, if that is all that we wanted to talk about in between, let's get over to the main event of this podcast, UFC Fight Night, Oliveira versus Gamrot. This took place at the Farmacy Arena in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Chase, what did you think of this card?
What did I think of it? Okay, so actually, I don't want to say in general yet. What I wanted to say first is that going into this was not on paper my favorite card. This was not going to be something that I was going to be thinking I remembered for a lifetime. Now, after the fact, I can tell you I'm not going to remember this for a lifetime. This was not my favorite card. It just, it had a lot of finishes. It definitely had a lot of finishes, but the fights that did have finishes, there are some that I was really questioning the opponents. There was some that were just really dumb, really stupid things were happening. And I don't know. It just a lot of finish. Just because there's finishes doesn't mean it's like necessarily an exciting card. I think there's got to be some good extra things going on. I don't know. I just see what
I,
you have to say. Maybe maybe you can sway me.
I guess we're gonna have to talk it through. It never ceases to amaze me that out of the two of us, you are younger, yet seem to always be the grumpier of the old men. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, I will until main card. I thought that main card had flecks of really good stuff, and then there were some patchier elements and some definite weirdness. This is another one of those cards that had a little bit of everything, and we'll talk about it all here. So yeah, but overall, I mean, I was definitely happy with the undercard, and main card had was a little bit more of an up and down. So let's start it off, and we'll go through and we'll figure it all out together here. Starting this thing off was Luan Lacerda versus Simon Oliveira. Oliveira, of course, missed weight by a whopping 8 pounds. The fact that this fight was able to take place is somewhat mind-boggling, but it still went on.
Did
What do you
you
think?
hear the second stipulation to this? And I don't know where this came from or like what exactly the reasoning was, if you can enlighten me. So the story was so Simon Oliveira missed by 8 pounds, but he had to be under 155 pounds the day of, or he can't compete. So he made 155, and
Yeah, because
that's how the fight was able to go on.
yeah, well, because I think that once you're over a certain amount, that like I think that that's a commission rule. I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I think that that's what it is. Is that like you can be within a certain window for the fight to still continue, but like after a certain amount, it's like even if you wanted to, even if everybody agreed, if the organization, et cetera, wanted it to happen, that it is not allowed to happen after a certain point.
You say that, but we did see Saudi Baldiev step up to heavyweight and have like a 40 gap at like pound gap between him against Martin Buday.
Yeah, I think that it's different at heavyweight though because the weight range at heavyweight is larger. So I think that that's what that is. Yeah, no, I mean I'm not saying it's right or wrong
Right.
or otherwise.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's amazing that this fight was even allowed to happen at all. It's also quite amazing that Lacerda ended up kicking the ever loving shit out of Oliveira. He was really whipping his ass in this fight pretty well. I mean, it was a lot of ground game, of course, but really dominant performance. So yeah, but anyway, just to finish up that thought, yeah, I think that that's the rule. We've talked many times about like how this affects the sport in general. And I think it's rather negative. I think it gives a bad impression to fighters that, if you come in 8 pounds overweight and everybody just says, okay, then 30% of your purse goes and you just are allowed to still do it.
Key to note, actually, I'm glad you said the 30% person. He actually got 50% taken for this fight. So
So
I don't
yeah,
know if that
okay.
changes anything.
Between 25 and 50. I mean, yeah, it should be enough of an incentive to make it so that people don't want to do it, but we see consistently time and again people still just being okay with it. Granted, it did not work out in his favor, so it really was kind of a wash in general. No win money and 50% loss, so this was really kind of a bum errand on his part. But for guys who do take advantage of that extra weight and then win the fight, I mean, it just seems like it's not enough of a punishment, I guess.
Yeah, but to actually go into this fight, I
Yes.
mean, what I will say is this was the battle of the jujitsu nerds. I mean, this is two dudes who they had grappling, but they decided to stand and strike with each other for a little bit, and then when it got to the ground, the better grappler showcased. I mean, I could be mad at Simon Oliveira for looking like T-Bag from Prison Break all I want. I can be mad at him for missing weight all I want, but at the end of the day, he got finished. And what the crazy part is, and I'm not trying to harp, I don't know if you saw that he got finished by an armbar. It took him a lot longer to tap than Josh Emmett, but I'm just whatever.
I mean, yeah, Josh Emmett is going to be your new low bar for
It
taps, I
has
would
to be.
say.
It has to be. I've seen
Yeah.
dudes almost get their arms ripped off, like we talk about later in this card. But either way,
Sure. Yeah, no. I say that he kicked the shit out of Oliveira. It's not, I being a little hyperbolic there, but he definitely controlled very, very well because there was some decent two-way grappling in this thing early on, a lot of positional reverses, and then Lucerda just ends up getting the upper hand, somewhere in the first round, takes control of the action, and with all the grappling, it was really starting to go and trend in his favor, and he kept that going. Good ground striking as well from him there. Second round, Oliveira ends up on top again, continues the solid work from the top. I mean, it goes two-way. Like every once in a while in this fight, there'd be like a burst from Oliveira where like he had a little bit of control, but Lucerda just ended up reining it right back in. And a guy who's 8 pounds heavier, you'd think would have a little bit more of an advantage when it comes to throwing your body weight around if you're going to be grappling. But Lucerda, eye on the prize. And then, ironically, having me just said that, it was body weight that ended up really helping Lacerda finish the job because it was he started off in one position with the armbar, or actually he started off on Oliveira's back and then transitioned into the armbar on the side, and then basically body weight and gravity ended up finishing the job. So Lucerda getting the win, and Oliveira losing 50% of his purse, not getting a win bonus, and then also getting his arm essentially snapped because it did look pretty hairy there.
yeah, he definitely. I don't know if it snapped. It probably popped a little bit. Definitely gave a little pop. He probably has a sling on or something for the next week. But much deserved. Now that you wanna fight like a slime ball, I guess. Or if you really had health complications where you genuinely couldn't get within 8 pounds, you don't need to be fucking fighting. I mean, now, but if you did go on because you wanted to miss weight by 8 pounds and lose 50% of your purse, well, arm popped. I mean, sorry. I mean, you signed up for it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I had in the notes. Oliveira misses weight and gets subbed. Bye bye.
Yeah.
And also on a losing streak too, as well. I mean, right? I remember us talking about this one in the on the week before, saying that both of these guys, I believe, are on a 2-fight losing streak. One on 3-fight losing streak and one on a 2-fight losing streak. I
Oh,
forget which
one
one
was
was
on a
worse.
3-fight losing streak. Now
Yeah.
he's on a four, actually.
So there
So
you go. Okay, so he was on the worst end of it. Yeah, because I remember that. One was on 2, one was on 1. So Lacerda finally getting a win. Oliveira now a 4-fight losing streak and an 8-pound weight miss. Come on, dude. It's a no brainer. This guy's got to go.
yeah, that'll be the last check he'll get, probably 50% off. So
Yeah, really, exactly. They got off easy, the organization, on that one.
true.
All right, well, that was that. Moving on to the next one here. This was a very nice performance. I enjoyed this fight very much. This was Julia Pilastri versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
I
Kowalkiewicz.
Yeah, I think this is where you're going to start to see me nitpicking a lot.
I
And
guess so, because this was a good one.
it was a good one. It was a good one. But what happened in the third, I mean, she hurt her to the body in the first round and second round like two times individually, and she did not push the finish. She waited until the third round where she gets a head kick and then it's like a whole sequence. It's like where's the psycho? Like, yo, I'm done with you aura farming, walking with your hands down and shit. Like, cut it out. Finish her in the first fucking round. If you can kick her in the head and finish it, do that shit in the first fucking round. I mean, if you set it up with 10 of your low kicks throughout the 3 rounds, I mean, sure. Yo, you were hurting her in every single round to the body. You could have kicked her in the head when she put her hands to her body. I'm just confused on why the third round, everybody's drooling about this performance. It's like, yo, she was honestly pissing me off for the first 2 rounds because she was not pushing the finish. So that's just me.
I think that you're taking a little bit too much away from Kavulkevich on that one, man. I think that Carolina is a pretty tough customer, all things considered. Now, granted, she did evade. There were times where she was evading, but the difference there is that instead of staying on the outside and just being timid, like she would get herself back to base. She would, get rocked, whatever. She would back off, and then she was right back in there. I mean, like she really was like she's tough. She's just slower now. I mean, like, Carolina has been around for a long time. I think I even said this last week. I was like, this is probably among her last fights in the organization. So, she just couldn't keep up with the younger person, but she's still a dog though. So, I mean, I just don't think that necessarily trying to go for the kick earlier on might not have been what you would have wanted out of it anyway.
It's not that Carolina was like some I mean, she was. Look, she got hit in the stomach and it really hurt, and she was able to not fall on her face like Nathan Fletcher. Listen, I will give her fucking credit. She did that multiple times. It's the fact that she got hurt to the stomach and she had time to recover multiple different times. Like, why was somebody not kicking you anywhere while you were, where there's a reaction, you need to be able to capitalize it. Okay, after the first one, it's like, okay, don't, you set her up, you hurt her to the stomach. Okay, cool. Take a moment. Now get back to it, do it again, figure out the finish after that. It's like, I shouldn't see her almost fall over from body shots in the first and second round, and then you have to finish in the third round. I don't know. In my opinion, I agree with what Hydra's saying. Lower expectations for women's MMA. I feel like I would be doing her a disservice by acting like this was a performance that I wouldn't criticize from a guy. I mean, literally, if I saw them, and we're going to talk about a dude, oh my goodness, we're going to talk about a dude later in this card who plays around with the fucking opponent for 3 fucking rounds. This girl she was doing it really good, but she could have got a first round finish. And that is what is possible for Julia Palastri. I'm expecting her to live up to my expectations because I know she's good. I saw her hurt her in the first. I saw her hurt her in the second. Why didn't you go finish in the first or second? I know you got to finish. Listen, if you would have went to decision, it would have probably been the same discussion. I'm just saying. But I think if you would have just got the finish early, you could. I would be talking about you like the next motherfucking bitch up. Like, damn, like, come on. I know Loopy was a bad performance. Poopy Loopy in that performance. She was able to hold you down, and you were able to come back in the third and have a good performance. It's like, we know you have the third round performance. Start knocking people out. Like, show you can just dog them out early, so you don't have to get to the deep waters in the third. They know when they get to the third you're a problem. Make it so that in the first you're a problem. You showed me, but you didn't get it done. I don't know. It just hurts.
Yeah, I mean, based on what you're saying, I will agree that those first 2 rounds, there were definitely times where Pilastri did not have a sense of urgency, and I'll
Right,
admit that is the
but why
case.
would she? She's up. Why
That
risk
I mean,
it?
I
I get it.
And that's the other, and again, I have to bring it back around to Kavulkevich. I mean, it's not like it's very different when you have a stationary opponent or a extremely evasive opponent where you have to go and chase them down. Like Kavulkevich would take the shots, she would regroup. She was a little bit hesitant to get in there and strike when the volume really started to add up. But like earlier on, like she was in there. I mean, she was definitely like, a big part of why this fight went as long as it did. I want to say, I mean, like, because there probably are lesser competitors who would have crumbled to some of that earlier striking. Now, what you would want, I think, is similar to what Martinetti did, where it's like volume and continuous power that, it's like you're always driving for the finish. You should always be driving for the finish in general. So I'll give you that. But I want to at least give a little bit of credit to Kavulkevich in this fight that, she brought an acumen to it that allowed for her to survive as long as she did, I guess.
I'll give you that. She was tough. I mean, I think I just Palastri, she could have put herself on the map. I think a little more. I mean, third round finish is cool, but it's third round after coasting 2 rounds of you striking for it wasn't like. This wasn't like a fucking ass whooping. Like, I mean, it was just like, yo, she's just outclassing her. and then she ends up fucking, it just ends up ending. Like, I didn't sit here and say, man, this bitch is just a fucking, she's, I
Oh,
don't know.
I think that's haterism then, bro. Because I mean, this was an ass whipping. I mean, she definitely like her the variety of striking as well. I think that that was another part of it. Now you could say, oh, well, why are you mixing up the striking so much when you could just be going for the head and going for the knockout? That's also, I think, kind of misguided. But
Nah.
like, her variety of strikes was great. She was mixing up the shots, body, head. The kicks there. I mean, like she really was putting in a good amount of effort. And I mean, I think that unfortunately for Kavlkiewicz, she really should have been striking at range more, like on her side. Like she could have made it more competitive when she was at a little bit more of a range. She probably should have been spamming some kicks. Kicks are your friend when your opponent is walking towards your face and wanting to punch it. But like I thought that this definitely was an ass whipping. I mean, Carolina had all kinds of redness going on going into the third round for sure. Like she was definitely like getting put over, like worked over rather.
Yeah, it ass whooping. Okay, I'll give it to you. But
Look how red the image is
I
on.
mean, I get it. I get it. I think it was a steady, striking affair, is what I
Right.
would say. I wouldn't say that she was just, every round she put her on her face, she got up, she dropped her again, she kicked her legs out from it. Like, she was just walking her down, striking, she's popping her with a jab, kicking her, and then eventually she worked towards a finish. I'm just saying she could have done that performance that she took 3 rounds to do in the first 5 minutes, and then people really would have been like, boom, we are locked into her. Like, after the loopy performance, don't even worry about it, she's back to just finishing people. And especially with Carolina, I mean, she got finished in the third, and I get you want to talk about the hard thing. It was like Palastri was playing the I'm gonna are you gonna give up game? Like, I'm gonna kick you in the stomach, and then if you quit, then we'll get a finish. But like, she had no, now you're hurt, now it's time to put you out type of deal, especially
Right.
with an
Yeah.
older opponent. And I think
Sure.
that was the urgency I would have liked to see from her.
I get you. I understand that. I'll definitely give you that part of it. For what it was, then I thought it was a really good performance. The one thing I did want to say though, because based on the Godinez fight, I hope that Palastri gets her ground game up. We didn't have to see it in this fight, of course. This stayed on the feet for the majority of it, if not the entire thing. But obviously Lupi is very skilled on the ground, so I would think that takedown defense really needs to be drilled into Palastri like in a real way. Obviously, striking is her forte. And I guess based on what you're saying there, then possibly a potential for Palastri just maybe not having that much power in her hands. So maybe that's something that needs to maybe get worked on. I don't know.
But when you're an opponent and you look at this for Julia, and you're like, okay, if I'm going to face her, it's like, well, I got 3 rounds to figure something out. It's not like, oh well, shit, she just flatlined her in the first round. It's like, I gotta make up something quick to avoid something like that. It's like, well, shit, if she ain't gonna finish me in the first round, and she's gonna give me opportunities in the second for sure, by the third round I will have figured it out. I don't know. That's just, as an opponent, that's just the way you gotta read these things, because she's literally just fucking around in there. Like, damn, you could have got a first round finish. Like, fuck.
All
So
right. Well, your position is well noted. Julia Pilastri, if you are listening, which I'm sure that you are, go out there and be a first round finisher now. That's the only thing left to do.
uh, it's possible. That's the crazy part. I shouldn't have to tell her that. She should have the confidence in herself. I'm just trying to build her up. So,
You think that she might have been trying to extend it a little bit to give a show to the Brazilian crowd?
possible, but if that's what you want to do, I mean, shit, go lose the next fight then. I don't care. That's up to you.
Well, put her up against a wrestler grappler and we'll see if it happens. That's the one thing that I'm concerned about for her right now is just if she, Godinez got her on the ground a whole hell of a lot. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, then, I mean, take between our two opinions of it, you can, decide how you want to side with it. But I thought it was a good win for Pilastri in the big picture. Chase would like it to have happened in the first round.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is Lucas Hokcha versus Stort Nickel. Roca was pretty solid in this fight. I mean, it sucks because Nickel. I kind of like grew to appreciate him a little bit more as this fight went on, but like he was having a whole hell of a lot of fun in this fight for a dude who was getting really worked over.
Yeah, I think this one I would say is more leaning towards. I know this one wasn't a finish, but like this Stuart Nickel dude, he just couldn't fucking do shit. Like I don't know. I mean, it's hard to watch a dude sometimes. I mean, 2 for 20 on takedowns is just magical performance when you're also getting just destroyed on the feet. And I don't know. Like I remember in the third round, I'm like, this dude is hurt again. Like holy shit. Like I know he's dogging it out, and he's like, he's got that like Aussie, the Aussie power. Like he really is just trying to be a dog out there. But like, brother, God, at flyweight, you're gonna have to have some sort of. Most of the flyweights have skills everywhere. It seemed like this dude was lacking a lot of skills, and at flyweight, you certainly cannot be. I mean, this Lucas dude is not even like close to being like a great competitor. Like, I mean, he's good. This was a great performance against somebody who did nothing against him, but give him somebody who takes him down one time. And I mean, this 18-2 record looks like it's 6-1, so I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I mean, we literally just were talking about like how a flyweight operates and should perform when we were talking about the contender series just a minute ago. And like, this certainly was not that. This was more in line with what we were critical of in weeks past with these guys. I mean, like, it was a fine performance for Roca. He had an answer for everything that Nickel was bringing to the table early, which I thought was he's definitely skilled. I mean, like you could tell that like he was reading his opponent well, anticipating the movements, and then answering accordingly to everything. Great takedown defense and evasions, plus nice hand striking and knees. It's like that's all well and good, but as you said, I mean, like this is against Stuart Nickel. You throw him against Demonol, see what happens. You'll see the difference in the speed very quickly. Like if you are a flyweight without flyweight speed, you are going to get lapped. And that's just a fact of the division, in my opinion. If you want to be a slower guy, put the weight on and go up to bantamweight.
Yeah, no, this one, I mean, I think I liked Lucas after this because I remember hating on him big time. Like, oh, Muay Thai guy. Yeah, all right, let's see what we fucking got here. I didn't necessarily see the Muay Thai god at flyweight, but like, at the end of this fight, he did whoop this dude. So I could be mad. Like it's not. I could be mad in the same way that I am with Palastri because this dude obviously well, he was just never going to get a finish though. Like I could be mad all I want, but like they weren't going to fucking finish each other in this fight. But with Palastri, there was better to come, I thought. And this one, this is exactly what I thought was possible out of these dudes. It's like, just one of them just has a striking affair. The other one takes a bunch of shots, and neither of them have the power to sit each other down or the instinct to just actually go for a finish. I mean, anybody else who has finishing ability, I mean, this Stuart Nickel dude is like toast, probably. I mean, Tatsuro gets him down and chokes him out in 5 seconds,
Oh
probably.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said that this is like a feel good fight, not necessarily for the fans, but definitely for the fighters, because like towards the end there was a cartwheel kick from Roca, there was a rolling thunder returned from Nickel. They're both definitely enjoying themselves, but like it was a very one sided affair. So it's like I think that Stuart Nickel like needs to kind of evaluate like the type of fighting that he wants to do. Like maybe he might be better suited to a different discipline than mixed martial arts, I want to say, because like first the other note that pairs with that is that Nickel is also very flat, and as we were just talking about, movement is very important at flyweight. He's going to get lapped in this division. It's kind of inevitable the way that he fights, but obviously he is a tough dude who likes to fight.
Yeah.
So there might be a better fit for him than mixed martial arts, I want to say. If you're trying to compete at the highest levels, there's a lot of adjustments that need to be made. And I don't know if that's going to be possible for him.
Yeah, so Stuart, if you're listening right now, if you go on Google Maps right now and you click the little man icon and you drop him in the backyard of Dan Hooker, I'm pretty sure it'll give you a good observation of what you're going to be fighting in the next couple of fucking months. But
And this is all on top of the fact that don't hold me to this, but there very well might be. Keep your eyes on the channel. There very well might be a little video coming out about Stuart Nickel, and I know that that sounds crazy considering what we just saw from this fight, but he's got an insane backstory that we only found out about through a very random happenstance on the watch along. So shout out to the
Nice.
homie Didgeridoo Dave. But Didgeridoo Dave clued me into some very interesting things about Stuart Nichols' backstory. So I won't spill all the beans here, just in case I do end up making this video. But like, it would be a lot more awesome if he was a great fighter. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I
So
definitely agree with that. Yeah, and for Roca, I mean, this is a performance where people are gonna look at it, and so for going to the next fight, they're gonna be like, "Yeah, he just beat a guy as a dog. He whooped him for 3 rounds, 30-27. He should obviously have a lot of hype for this next fight or expectations." And then he's gonna go against somebody that's probably not as hyped up, but I'm gonna go ahead and say that dude might work him over because this Roca dude, I mean, he can strike, but I see a lot of people who can strike, and it didn't make my head spin. So I'll say that.
no, I agree with you entirely. I don't want to put him in the same camp as Nikolai Veretennikov because I don't want to compare anybody to that unnecessarily. But the same type of criticism applies. Do not let this fight dictate your opinion about him because I think that, again, I said Imanol coming in, that might be a matchup. That's the exact type of person that they would match up a Contender Series guy with, either that or like a vet who's on the way out of the sport kind of thing. But like if they wanted to go a little bit more down the line traditional, that's the exact type of fight he's going to get. And someone like Imanol is going to definitely do exactly what you just said.
Yeah, 100%.
So there you have it. All right, moving on to the next one here. This was Bia Mesquita versus Irina Alexieva. This was Bia Mesquita's debut in the UFC and Alexieva's debut as I want to say a Vegas showgirl for a little bit because she was dancing her way out to this cage. Like it was very entertaining to watch her so excited to march her way to a funeral.
I think what's genuinely crazy is, and this is a true statement, there are people who, when I brought up Alex Siva losing this fight, in theory, they would say, well, she's not that bad. I would hope anybody who's listening watch the last two of Irina Alexieva's fights, and you will probably see the furthest comparison from Ronda Rousey as there have ever been for the person who is nicknamed Russian Ronda. And it is
Well,
absolutely crazy.
what I would say to that is that the comparison might be somewhat stronger than you're giving it credit for, but the problem is it's not the Ronda of her prime. It's Ronda if she stepped back into the cage right now.
True, yeah, dude. It's genuinely bad. It might even be Ronda in her WWE run. I don't know what this is right here, but she's genuinely. I mean, she's just not UFC material. I don't care. Listen, I know Dana loves people who want to fight and like they'll get their ass whooped and they'll be ready for another one. But like genuinely, there has to be a point where the skill has to be top level. Like I cannot think Irina Alexieva could like lose in a street fight to some mom. Like there's no reason for me to think something like that. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Bia Mosquito. And I do want to jokingly say it like that because I mean I think it is aura at this point. Like that's how things become iconic. Is like you write them off. Like who's the mosquito girl? Like come on. Like she's obviously gonna come in here and what? She's gonna probably beat Alexia because she sucks, but like no way she's gonna be good. Did I think she was gonna be the BJJ female goat or whatever she calls herself? I don't know, but she's damn good. She sat on Alexieva for a round and a half. I mean, it's good enough for me, I guess. I mean, I could have the same criticism for Palastri, but I don't know anything about Mosquito. So she
Well,
came in and did her thing.
yeah, and really, I mean, in a fight like this, I mean, sure, she got the win and she did it dominantly, but did you really learn a whole lot when it was
No.
Alexieva on the other side? Exactly. No, no is the answer because yeah, no, Alexieva is not UFC caliber. That's point blank. Period. She is not of the caliber to be in this organization. We're talking about women's MMA here. Like there is I don't want to say a lower bar. That would be a very misogynistic thing to say, but there is a different expectation when it comes to the skill set of women. You can navigate women's MMA a little bit more broadly because you have a little bit more of a bandwidth to be a grapple heavy fighter. You have a little bit more of a bandwidth to to have your strikes not necessarily always matter if they have knockout power. Like the playing field is a little bit more narrow, I would say. Like, it doesn't, like, you don't have like what we always say, if a woman gets a finish, you keep your eye on her, especially if she gets a knockout. If you have knockout power as a female fighter, you are instantly in a different category, in my opinion. So, like, that being said, this performance was certainly good, but Alexieva is just not at that level even. It's
Yeah.
it's yeah, no, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Shout out
He
to
made a
Hydra.
great point.
He's been cracking me up in the chat throughout all of this, by the way. But yes, a different lower expectation, perhaps not what I'm trying to say, but basically what I'm saying. But no, the point is that, like, there are plenty of more well-rounded female fighters who might give Mosquita a better showing here, might put up a better fight. But Alexieva was the exact right level to have this type of performance against, because, like you said, first round they have a little bit of a feel out, just some distance management, and then Mosquita gets Alexieva down and keeps her there for nearly 3.5 minutes. Everything in round one was the result of one takedown.
Yeah, what's also key to note, which was this should just show you how the level that we're working with Alexieva. Bia Mosquito wrapped her up in a choke with her own arm, and at one point I was genuinely questioning, like, could she actually go out from this? Like, could she genuinely go unconscious here? Because I thought, she wasn't able to fight it off. Like, she was just stuck there, and Bia was just toying around with her. But, like, could she have gone unconscious? I don't know if that's even possible, but boy, would that have really been the icing on the cake here.
Oh yeah,
Getting submitted by your own arm is ridiculous.
Yeah, and it really was getting close to it. Yeah. So we were talking about that on the watch along. You can submit someone that way. It's kind of it's a very tough way to do it, and I don't think from the angle that she was at, because she was top down doing it, I don't think that she would have had the necessary force against, like, from the neck to the arm. But the fact that she was holding her in that position for as long as she was tells you everything that you need to know. I mean, and I said she was doing the most from the top. She had full mount. The cross face for Irina was with her own arm, pummeling her face all throughout. Now, granted, so on the watch along, Vitz King did say that Alexieva was complaining that Bia was hooking her glove.
She was. Oh, she for sure was. You could see
Okay.
it.
See, that's the thing. I didn't see it on the rewatch. I was specifically looking for it. And now, Vitz was like, yeah, you'd have to have x-ray vision at certain points to be able to see it. Okay, fair enough if that's the case. So that being said, yeah, that's probably not great. You know what I mean? Like, maybe we shouldn't be glazing that too much if she's doing an illegal move to get that. But that aside, it was still, the optics were terrible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So shout out to Bia. I think, at bantamweight, I mean, you can definitely tell this is a bantamweight woman. She is muscular. She is buff. I mean, she might as well. She ain't Kayla or, any other, or Amanda, but, like, she's decently ripped. So do I give her a chance against a lot of these bantamweight women's? Yes. But do I give her a chance against the American champ, Kayla Harrison? Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely early on for that. That's why I did think you talked about her little nickname for herself. I was like, great win. It might be a little bit premature to be self-appointing the lady goat status to yourself. But either way, though, I mean, to the finish of this fight was pretty impressive. I mean, it was one of those fights that's one long round. So, I mean, second round, same things were going on. She gets the takedown. She's, doing all this work and then rolls into a rear naked, and the rear naked was so flush. She got under that chin and was going to pop the head off of Alexieva's shoulders. She was actually flailing her, like, way to the tap as she was going out. It was one of those ones that as she let go, you could hear her, like, see her gasping, and she was kind of not there. So, I mean, it certainly was a very impressive debut. As you said, I mean, I think that there's going to be plenty more. This is yet another fight, much like the last one, where you cannot get a full impression of this fighter from this performance. Alexieva is probably going to get cut. She's just, again, like I said, she's not the UFC's caliber. It's just, it is what it is. No disrespect to her, but her skill set is lacking. We need to see Mosquita up against somebody who can match wits with her when it comes to the grappling. And if she can do that a little bit higher up in the division, then maybe there's a bigger ceiling. But for now, just be cautious about betting on her going forward until you see more out of her.
So, Alex Siva, if you are listening, I want you to do me a favor and keep in touch because I have been reaching out to multiple promotions, KSW being one of them. We're going to get your name in there, girl. We're going to get you going in the KSW rankings because I think there is a place for you in MMA, just not the UFC.
All right. Well, there you go. Chase taking on the management role as well as commentator. I can appreciate this.
Yeah, I mean, Bass Rutten had a lot of different things that he was able to do, so I think I'm just following in the footsteps of the GOAT.
All right. Well, then just do me a favor and keep your shirt on.
Okay.
All
Oh,
right.
I'll change it, of course.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just behind a curtain of some sort. Shout out to Didgeridoo Dave checking in as well, by the way. Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk
Actually,
about you a
shout
little
out to the
later.
last comment as well. Why are you choking yourself? Why are
Yeah,
you
that
choking yourself?
absolutely. I mean, and that really was what it was too. It was so bad. I mean, like that was one of those ones that's like she was getting little sistered.
Yeah. You
But
don't see it very often, but when you do, you're like, yep, that's a little sister right there.
yeah, absolutely. It's one of those ones where she could have been like putting the hand out and she'd be flailing the arms, kind of thing. But anyway, let's move on to the next one here. This is Vitor Petrino versus Thomas Peterson. I said looking at especially on the rewatch. Actually, no, I think I said it on the initial watch on the watch along. Peterson looked very out of sorts coming into this fight. He did not look overly confident. His body language was really bad in the pre-fight, when they're backstage and they're doing that. That's all pre-recorded backstage, by the way, just so you know, for anybody who is not aware of that. Like those are filmed ahead of time. So like that had to have been a while before he was even making the walk. So he looked very unconfident backstage. And then when he got into the cage, didn't look a whole lot better. And that just carried its way through this entire fight, as far as I was concerned. On the other side, really solid performance for Petrino, I thought.
Are we serious right now?
Why?
You're
Yeah,
kidding me, right?
this fight was not great, but it was. I mean, Petrino is at heavyweight, and he's now 2-0 at heavyweight.
Dude, solid performance from Petrino. You're watching a dude who performed at light heavyweight give you one solid round at heavyweight,
Well,
and then
I mean,
I mean, like, I don't know, like, doesn't that sound crazy to you? Like, you could watch Surreal Gone. Like, this dude is Surreal Gone, basically. He got down to 205, Surreal Gone from Brazil, basically. You could watch Surreal Gone strike for 5 rounds, and it's magic. Petrino throws punches for 20 seconds at heavyweight, and apparently he's never worked out in his life. He's never got on the treadmill. Like, he even said in this post-fight speech, like, I know my cardio didn't hold up. It's like, dude, are you genuinely just getting fat? Like, I'm confused.
well, I mean, I think that what I liked about the performance. So let me put it in more broad context than just this fight specifically. What I liked is that Peterson is a wrestler, Petrino also a wrestler, and there was a good amount of wrestling in this fight. So, I mean, what I'm seeing out of Petrino now moving up to heavyweight is actually a somewhat formidable wrestler in that division, which is lacking ground game. So, I mean, yes, was this a crazy, amazing fight? No, but I like the fact that we have a somewhat skilled wrestler who has knockout power. I mean, obviously if he was that gassed and still able to pull off the insta knockout in the beginning of the third round, there is power in his hands. I think overall there were good things to take away from the performance.
I don't know if I actually would agree with that statement either. I've seen him knock people out before. I mean, that's fine. Didn't he knock out Austin Lane
But
or
you
something?
haven't seen it at heavyweight though.
I'm
Did he
no,
get a knockout in his...
no, he subbed him. I think you're right, but like I didn't not expect. No, he's no,
Yeah,
he subbed him.
yeah.
I didn't not expect him to, like, I don't know. This dude, it's not surprising that big muscle guy punched fat guy and knocked him out. Like it surprised me that the muscle guy, apparently just has no cardio at all, and neither does the fat guy. You would think at heavyweight by now we would have people come prepared to fight 3 rounds, because we get to the third round and you're clawing your fucking eyes out of the performance like this. The only reason you're saying is a decent performance is because Peterson apparently just fucking fell like a Lego block or something. Like, this dude just died in 26 seconds in the third quarter or third round, whatever you want to say. And I don't know, Petrino, Okay, he gets a sub, he gets a knockout. I'm being harsh, but like I think again there was just the little things, and this is me nitpicking. If he just wouldn't have looked like a fucking slob for 2 rounds up until they finish, I would be saying something different. If he would have just walked in the first 26 seconds when he was fresh, boom, knocks him out. Well, you gotta wait till the third round for. All you do was throw a fucking hook that he just walked into. I mean, he probably would have did that in the first round. So I don't know.
I mean, I was going scanning in the notes, and then I didn't even realize, but I had the note to counter this. I basically already said it, but the note word for word says people were saying this fight sucked until the finish. I didn't hate it. Second win at heavyweight for Petrino, showcasing his wrestling abilities. Can he fare well against the even bigger guys? And so, I mean, I think that I really that's big. More of what I'm taking away. The other note that goes to this too is that this was less of a competition and more of a skills display for Petrino when it came to the wrestling, because Peterson just looked outmatched in this and there was no reason for it. That's the other problem. I mean, again, this is a take two to tango situation here as far as I'm concerned. Peterson looked sluggish. He looked timid in this one, and his body language was terrible coming out of round two. He just looked deflated, as I had said that he kind of had he gave the impression of going into the fight itself. So, I mean, like, should Petrino have done better earlier? Yes, I will give you that. I do agree with that. This could have been one of those, early knockouts that we see all the time at heavyweight. We would not have had to sit through all of the wrestling exchanges. But I thought that overall there was enough decent stuff happening in here for heavyweight. You always have to know heavyweight is its own sort of animal in this sport. I liked it.
I can admit when I'm wrong. If Didgeridoo Dave, I'm sorry, not Didgeridoo. Shout out Didgeridoo Dave. If Hydra if he can, if this was two heavyweights wrestling for a good amount of these 2 rounds, I mean, I see the takedown numbers, but like honestly, I couldn't tell you that this was more than them standing in front of each other for a lot of these 2 rounds. But that's just my opinion. But
Well,
shout out Hydra. So
and to your point though, because I want to say this for you and for anybody else who was like in the same kind of ballpark. If you remember in the first round, Peterson tries to enter strongly and go in for I think for like a double leg. He was trying to take the fight to him in a wrestling capacity, and then Petrino really had to put a lot of like his lower body into the cage clinching and like ended up kind of maneuvering him along the cage. It's those kinds of things, especially keep it in context of heavyweight. That kind of thing is impressive to me because you're going to have to do that against a lot of different body types, a lot of different power levels. Like this fight, you got to look at it bigger than just this fight, I think is what I'm getting at here. And I think that for this fight, what he did was a good display of what you need and what we are lacking at heavyweight. That's how I would put it.
yeah, I can hear that. I can hear that. He's
So,
definitely Petrino at heavyweight is definitely on the radar more than somebody like a motherfucking Hamdi at this point.
well,
So
and the last note that I have, and could be the kibosh on all of this conversation, is that he called out Marcin Tybura. I said that is a perfect fight for the level that he is now at. And if Tybura starches him, then all of this goes away. But I think that leading up to this, that would be a really good like way to define whether or not he is able to jump to a higher status within the division.
I can kind of agree with that. I mean, when it comes to heavyweight, there's only like 7 options that are applicable whenever you get a fucking finish or whenever you get a win. It's like, okay, it's either Tybura, Spivak, Shamil, or, Yadi or Waldo, whatever you want to say. So whoever it ends up being, I guess I'm excited to see it, but I've just never been sold on it, and I don't know what performance is going to make me sold on it. He is a heavyweight who's getting finishes in a time where we get a lot of heavyweight decisions. So shout out to Petrino.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and right. I guess that is the ultimate bigger takeaway in general is just if you're going to have fighters that are in that sort of lower earlier stage of their heavyweight journey, even up to the middle, just be happy when there's a finish at all.
True.
So good deal here, I guess. Moving on to the next one. This was a little bit more spirited, I would say. This was Jafel Filio versus Clayton Carpenter. I said coming into this one, we had so many finishes. A lot of these were finishes, only one decision out of the fights we've already reviewed here. I said, if there's a finish in this fight, that's going to be the one that'll really like push it over the edge, because I was like, after seeing Jafel Filio in his last fight, which didn't feel like that long ago, but for some reason, I guess I just had a clearer image in my mind of it. But I think it was back in like
May.
March, yeah, May. As I say, it's like earlier, way earlier in the year, but like I just remember it being a really grudgy kind of affair there. I was like, I just didn't think that there would be a finish in this fight, but we got a finish out of this one too. So, I was pretty happy with it.
Yeah, this was good grappling for what it was. It was a quick one. I mean, first round finish. I thought it was going to be Clayton going to be the one to get the upper hand, but honestly, I probably should have trusted that Filho is some Brazilian jiu-jitsu wizard when it comes to it. He's been around it way too long. Clayton is just some wrestler. Um, and he got the upper hand and got the choke. I mean, or not the choke, the Kimura. Yeah, he almost ripped his fucking arm off. And uh, shout out to Clayton for not getting his arm ripped off. I mean, I guess that's all that I can say about it because there wasn't much when I was watching it in the grappling. I mean, he was just outmatched as soon as we got to it. So
True. Yeah, and also, I mean, it's like I don't. I mean, they have Clayton Carpenter listed as 5'6". I said, it's hard to make Filio look big, but he did look big compared to Carpenter. So I don't know if maybe the numbers are off or it was just maybe a perception thing. But like Carpenter just looked tiny in this fight. So I don't know if that, it shouldn't really play too much of a factor when it comes to a grapple heavy fight, but it was just something that I noted earlier on. And really, I didn't have too much time to think about it because Filio gets the trip, immediately goes to work with the grappling, gets Carpenter's back, solid body triangle, and off to, Kimura land he goes.
what I was gonna say is, and I think I make a good point once I actually break it down. I was gonna say Carpenter, he has too much of the Peter Parker shit going on. Like you look too much like a nerd kind of deal. And listen, and when you break it down, it's like, did he even show you anything that was like worth feeling threatened about in the fight? Like I didn't once say like, oh, Philo's got to watch out for that. Like, oh, don't let him get you. It's like, no, Philo just did what he wanted with him. He walked in there and got the shit done. Like, Carpenter didn't really make it seem like he couldn't get over on him. So I think Clayton, you know, in this game, you got to have some confidence. You got to not get walked over in a lot of these performances. And I think Clayton just needs to not let people walk over him because Philo literally just walked into the fucking finish line here. There was not
Well,
really much here.
yeah, no, I mean the one counter argument I would make to that statement is that Carpenter did reverse into top position after he was after Philo got him to the ground there. So I mean, like there was a moment where he like had a little bit of the upper hand, but and to your point of like what traps or like what what was the thing to watch out for with Filio? I don't think that you could have saw it coming because Filio is actually really great off of his back. That whole the Kimura sequence started off of his back. I mean, he started from the bottom and then rolled into top position. So I got to give the guy some credit for that. I mean, that's some stuff that if you're able to be that high level in a submissive position, in a less dominant position, then I mean that's really something that it's hard to account for. So I mean, granted, you should be able to. I mean, you should know, if this thing is happening, this could be what will happen, kind of thing. But Carpenter didn't have that instinct, and Filio just really did. He had the right thing, right mindset working for him. So high level work for Filio, and then comes out the hotel room Bible, as you always
Yep.
see.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's actually hilarious. The way that you the Hotel Bible was pretty funny. No, he's a cool dude. I mean, the preacher he got another finish. I love to see it.
Yeah, yeah, and it was a fine, like you said, first rounder. So nice,
He
easy,
didn't
quick,
he,
and
he didn't fucking roll around with him for 3 other rounds and then finally do it. So I'm
there
proud.
you go. Exactly. So there's your sense of urgency. Like I said, this card has a little bit of everything, and we're really just getting into it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, good deal. All right, next one up was another good deal here. This was Lucas Almeida versus Michael Aswell. After 6 Brazilian wins in a row, here comes the Texas Kid.
So I don't know if you knew, because you're not on Twitter too much. Did you know that Lucas Almeida had a broken hand going into this fight?
I did not know that. That is an interesting deal. Actually, somebody had said that somebody had said that during the watch along. Actually, yeah, that they had said that he had a broken hand, and I looked at his hands. I was like, it doesn't look like they were swollen, but I mean, yeah, that's a bit of a problem.
When he walked on the scale, his hand was for sure swollen, and when he walked out, you could notice, you know, you could just notice him not using his hand when he took off his shirt. Like he didn't like grab his shirt, he kind of just like hooked it, and there was other things. At the end of the fight, his coach was walking up and, like grabbing his, like touching his hand, like, you all right, things like that. But when you go into the fight and you understand, like, oh, his hand probably is broken, and then you watch him go into the fight and not throw or block a single punch with the said broken hand, and then get flatlined and destroyed by Michael Aswell. I mean, you know, thankfully, people on Twitter are smarter than the fucking scumbags in Vegas, because they were gonna let us fucking rot on this fucking hill. But people scouted out that his hand was broken. The line, I don't think it necessarily flipped. I think Aswell was always the favorite, but it definitely got steeper because Lucas Almeida went into this fight for a paycheck, and God willing, he came in here and he got that paycheck. But he probably shouldn't have, if he wanted a record to mean anything, I guess.
Well, and I was going to say, I mean, he certainly had to earn it because this was kind of a strange one on the rewatch. Like Herzog let Almeida take some really heavy damage in this fight. Like Herzog was right on top of it. So I mean, like, look, as I always say with the refereeing, it's like, if he stops it early, then you're criticizing that. If he stops it late, you're criticizing that. So it's a thankless job. But there was, I mean, like, what Bisping had said on the commentary that I definitely agreed with, I thought it was an astute observation, was that Almeida looked vacant in this fight. Now, it could have been from the hand, it could have been from any number of other reasons, but he just sort of was not in this fight. And then after getting rocked, it was a foregone conclusion. But it was really kind of hard to watch the finish of it, towards the end, because Herzog is right on top of him, fight back, fight back, fight back, and it just keeps going with that. It's like, bro, just stop it already, man. He's
Yeah.
not fighting back. So it was a crazy one. I also did note that as well did end up whiffing a lot of shots leading up to the finish. It kind of reminded me of that one guy on the Contender Series that you had pointed out a couple weeks back, that like he threw those 3 punches, none of which landed, and then still
Yeah.
ended up getting the knockout. Yeah, so I mean, this was a fine performance for Aswell. Obviously, all of these other circumstances kind of mar it a little bit, but you take the fight, you got to fight one way or another, I guess.
I want to give a big shout out to the Mank in the chat, because he
Absolutely.
got to experience the last sighting of Michael Aswell before Dana White fires him for spoiling the big news that his best friend Josh Van is fighting on the card on December 6th or whatever it is. And I want to be there too, buddy. So,
Yeah, that is kind of funny, isn't it? I mean, I guess Dana had to come out and do an announcement today, didn't he?
yeah. So,
Yeah, that is I didn't even put two and two together on that, because we all knew that Josh Van was getting the shot. So like, I don't think that was not news, of course. But yeah, the actual announcement did. He pulled an Ariel Helwani on that one. Back at
well,
the
I think I
200.
respect it a lot. I think it's actually really, really funny for him to do that. Fun fact: I mean, who knew that him and Josh Van were boys? Now I'm on notice. Michael Aswell, Josh Van, peas in a pod. I don't
There
know.
you go. Best friends, I believe that they had said. So
Nice.
that's, good stuff there. Um, the only other real note that I had from this, well, two of them. I guess one is that we still have no answers as to whether or not Aswell's chin is really as good as we think that it may or may not be, because the striking from him was wild at times. It got the job done in the end, but it was a real long runway that he ended up getting, and Almeida didn't really put too much back on it. So there's still questions there. And then the other note that I had is just a general note, and I hate to say this. We have Rafaiuski. He's not in the chat right now, but he is from Brazil. He is the homie. He is a genuinely cool dude, and I really appreciate that guy. But man, the Brazilian crowd, I'm not talking about Brazilians individually, but the Brazilian crowd is just such a joyless crowd. Their nationalism is ridiculous. This was a great power display here. Granted, we know the circumstances, but you take away a knockout, and they could not enjoy it because it was a Brazilian on the losing end. And I'm like, dude, can you not just like enjoy fighting for the sake of fighting? Does it always have to be down the line? If it's Brazil, I'm for it. If it's not Brazil, I'm against it. Like, it's just in the United States, plenty of places. England is a great example of this. English fighters in there, they'll be politely clapping at the very least when one of their guys loses. It's like Brazil is just way too fierce with the nationalism, and it kind of puts a damper on things at times, because like the crowd was just dead silent for any time that a Brazilian lost.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fun. I think that just I wouldn't want every crowd to be the same. I would want the distinctive, differences. Like when you listen, Brazil, you better get fucking quiet when Michael Aswell walks in that goddamn building next time. I'll tell you that. So
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I can hear what you're saying with that, but you know what I would say is a better version of it is France. France has a great crowd that is very loud. They are very responsive, and I think very respectful in the end. Like, and that's really all I care about is just the respect for these fighters because it's like this guy is coming out here, and in any other circumstance, if it like imagine if he was Brazilian, you would be cheering your head off. But since he's not, now you're denying yourselves all of the excitement of the thing itself, and that's I'm like I don't know. I guess I look at sports a little bit differently because I remember having this conversation very brief and we'll move on. But like, I remember talking to a friend of mine who's a big basketball fan, not you, Chase, but another one.
yeah,
And he was saying that like, when Michael Jordan came to town, was playing his team, like he could never cheer for, for Jordan. I was always like, I mean, couldn't you at least just appreciate Jordan for the greatness that he inherently had? And he was like, no, he came into town and he was whipping our team. And I was like, I get it, but like, I think that there is something just great about greatness. I think I don't know.
some people hate to love, like they just won't accept it, but they love to hate people. That's just what it is. And I
Uh,
think that's a different. I think that adds a different atmosphere to Brazil. When you come to Brazil, you could shut the fucking arena down if you go knock their boy out. So
well, we're going to talk about that coming up right now. Actually, if you're ready to move on to this next fight, so
yeah.
yeah, this next one coming up here. Oh,
Oh,
yep.
actually, I
Yeah.
think maybe it's now the time to bring it up because Hydra just made a great point about retirement. So Brazil
That was
and
after the next fight, but we can do it now.
okay, sorry. Okay, so you know what I was going to talk about. Yeah,
Sure.
let's do it now. I think this was very funny.
Yeah.
For like the 18th time apparently or something. Uh, yeah, this is just the topic that we got into it for.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I didn't. There you go. Okay. Anyway.
Jose Aldo gets to have his retirement walk in Brazil. What do you think about it?
I thought that it was nice that he finally got it after having basically been retired for so long. That the last fight that he was in was, his retirement fight was a while ago. I mean, that was up in Canada, and we're going back to Canada now next week. So that just shows you how long it's been between those two. I did think that it was a little bit funny that they still did not give him a video package. I thought that they certainly could have done that.
Ah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Jose Aldo, one of the all-time greats of the sport. They give him a little moment in the cage to kind of just go in there, lay the gloves down, stand there with his wife and kid for a while, soak it in, get cheered by the crowd. But so I thought it was okay, I guess.
yeah, I thought it was also okay. I mean, it was confusing as hell at first. I'm like, what the hell is Jose? I mean, I get it's in Brazil, but I'm like, what's he walking out for? What's he got the gloves? I mean, it took me a minute to put two and two together because, like, the dude just, he already retired. He retired in Canada. Who cares? Like, I mean, he did his thing, whatever. He did the thing. So the fact they gave him the walk, cool, awesome. The fact they did it after the next fight is weird. I figured they would have done it at the main card, but okay. Interesting.
Well, they
Uh,
did it on the main card.
and I think the last joke I want to make, yeah, the main card's about to start. That's what
Right.
yeah. And I think the last thing I want to note is, yes, they did not give Jose Aldo a video package, probably because Kat Zingano has one coming out here soon for her Hall of Fame. And I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Okay. I mean, fair. I think everybody is still in the same boat saying that, Jose Aldo, he did what you cannot do, which is go against the organization. We say it time and time again. He wanted to go out and try his hand at boxing. You don't come back from that. The organization does not forget when it comes to people striking out on their own. You have freedom of speech in the UFC, except if you go against the business interests of the UFC. This is very well known at this point. So Jose Aldo goes off and does his own thing. You get what you get when you come back.
I think Dana, when it comes to things like that, I think Dana has a good understanding of how quickly like mixed martial arts careers are. Because if you look at when we talk about TKO, look at the partner brand, look at WWE. When they come to, their partnerships and, they disband and they go to a different promotion and then they come back, 10, 15 years later, it's because they have 10, 15 years down the line to reconcile and, time passes and heals. Dana White knows you got 5, 7 years on the line. I'll just move on. There'll be another fighter. There's more of you out there because you're not going to be, not everybody's that guy who's going to fight for 15 years and be a superstar, whatever the case may be. That's literally unlikely in all scenarios. Dana probably just knows that, and he's okay with you guys walking, and I'll just never really give a shit if you come back or not.
Oh,
So
he's been very vocal about that. Like he going back to I want to say even like prime Connor era, they were asking him about like what are you going to do when the golden goose is gone, and he said almost exactly that sentiment. He's like, there's always going to be another superstar in the making. Now it's you know kind of debatable as to how they've been pushing certain people and then what the actual return is on that, because I really do believe that they wanted Sean O'Malley to be that. You know that didn't end up working out, of course, but you know that absolutely is the case. Look, this sport has such a small window of time that you can be a superstar in it that it's almost inherent to the sport that has to be the nature of it. So you know strike out on your own at your own peril, because this is what you get. And a lot of people, it makes more sense if you're going to go that route to just leave altogether. Don't even think about coming back. We saw that with Jose Aldo, and we definitely saw that with Henry Cejudo. I mean,
mhm.
you know, Cejudo's been kind of up and down whatever, but that like when he what tried to leave in the first time, Dana was like, all right, well, there's the door. You're going off, you're trying to play this power play of more money, all that stuff, whatever. I'm not playing that game with you. So you're never, house always wins.
Yeah,
You're never getting over on the UFC.
hell yeah.
All right. So all of that being said, let's move on to the main card here. And yeah, you would talk about Brazilian respect. Well, Khan Awfully definitely testing that theory that you had about the respect levels in Brazil. But this fight had a whole lot of bullshit in it. So I was curious what your opinions are, because what I saw is a lot of grabbing of that cage.
I didn't necessarily pick up on. I mean, whether it happened or not, who gives a shit at the end of the day? I mean, Con Ofley, what stuck out to me is this Ricardo Ramos is looked upon as some BJJ expert in Brazil. When it comes to BJJ, this Ricardo Ramos is talked about like I'm supposed to fucking know. This is Charles fucking 2.0. Con Ofley walked in and walked out with this dude's head. Like, I mean, it was done deal easy. I mean, this is just a random Australian guy as a dog who can't even get a win on the contenders or on the Ultimate Fighter, excuse me, and he comes in and wraps you up. I mean, with one strike thrown, wraps you up and chokes you out. I mean, that's just all that stood out to me. Ricardo Ramos, whoever was grabbing the cage, I don't really care. I
Well,
mean, all that matters to me is Con Ofley's a G.
yeah,
So
well,
go ahead.
see that I think that the cage grabs are what mar this. Otherwise, if it had not been for them, then yes, I would agree with you entirely. But I think the cage grabs really were the bigger story here. So breaking this thing down a little bit. Fight starts. Ramos kicks. Khan catches it, takes Ramos down, then immediately and blatantly grabs the fence. Goddard saw it and calls him for it. He said, "Hey, stop grabbing the fence!" Right. So that's your first one there. Ramos goes for the knee bar. Good navigation by Ofley to turn himself out of it. So stands up, blatant fence grab number 2 as he's standing up. And that's the worst one, because that was a positional change. That was
Mhm.
one that had an impact on the position of the fight. And Goddard is on top of all of this, by the way. Like, Goddard had a view of all of this. He called the first one. Second one, I don't recall him doing anything about that one. So grabs the fence in 2 places, it looked like. So either 2 or 3 blatant fence grabs, because I think that there was a third one where real quick where he kind of like held onto it from the back, like he was kind of falling backwards and held onto it for a little minute. These were fight altering, at least the 2, the major ones. Ofley ends up keeping the position because of the grab, gets Ramos's back. Ramos stands, Ofley backpacks. Ramos can't fight the hands, and Ofley gets the tap. So I'm saying, yes, it was a fine performance had it not been for hooking his fingers inside of the chain link. This puts it all into a different perspective. I said, this is not going to get overturned, but it feels like there should be a case for it with the amount of grabbing that I saw.
You know, I I must have spaced out or something. I was looking at the screen, but in my opinion, I don't know if I was sitting here thinking like, man, Con Ofley's cheating his fucking ass off this fight. I, listen, you're an enemy, you're in hostile territory. No call, no foul, whatever you want to say. Done deal. He got a submission win. I hate to break it to you. It's the name of the game. It's not that. It's not what you. It's not what you get. It's just what you get away with. If you get away with it, it's legal, fair play. I mean, I hate to say that's just the name of the game, and I'm not necessarily the biggest Con Ofly fan. If it was a dude I hated, I might, care a little more. If it was a dude I liked, I might care a little more. But like as it stands right now, fair game is game, man. Mark Goddard's one of the best at it. You can't really ask for too much more. You had one of the best referees in the game watching it. Kano Flea got the dub in the way that he did.
I can't believe that you're legitimately going, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying on me right now.
I do kind of agree with that sentiment, though. I mean, it's a fight. I mean, you are here to win the fight. We actually didn't even bring it up with Martinetti. Speaking of back to the Smashing Machine. If you guys didn't know, we did a whole review on the Smashing Machine. There's a
True.
video on YouTube where we have a whole couple hours talking about that. But Martinetti took Mark Kerr's advice. Are you willing to put your fingers in a dude's wound and spread it open further? I mean, it's
That's not
not.
cheating, though. That's the problem.
Listen, in
That's
a specific fight, if you actually want to bring it up, the ref told him to stop rubbing his head against the cut. So it wasn't cheating, but he was doing what the ref didn't want him to do. And it was technically, it was good on him. So
I wonder why the referee did that, though. I would think that that would be perfectly
he
legal.
was
What,
like,
I mean,
hey, stop. Don't do that with the
I
head. Come on
yeah,
now.
I remember you say I now that you say that, I do remember it, but that shouldn't be illegal. I don't think.
Right.
I
It,
mean,
it
but
shouldn't. But
anyway, I don't know. I mean, fair enough. But I mean, I cannot abide by blatant cheating to win when you see it like that. I just, you look, we talk all the time on this show about the enforcement of the rules or the lack thereof, which is what it seems like oftentimes, many, many times. The Derek Lewis quote is as true now as it has ever been. If they're not going to call it, why not get away with it? So I do understand that aspect of it, and there is something to be said for that. So I think that it's really just more of a systemic problem. I just hate to see it when I think that Ricardo Ramos, almost had a fucking great knee bar for a minute there. I mean, like, shout out to Awfully for getting himself out of it. But like, you could see that had those positions not been held because of the cage grabs, this could have been a further competitive fight that unfortunately was not now. So it just bothers me.
I think I don't know. At the time that this happened, this wasn't the fight that I was looking forward to most. So I wasn't really expecting too much. So when the fight got over with, I mean, this was another, I was just chalking it up to Ricardo Ramos not being that good. So I guess I don't really have too much more to say. I feel like everybody's a lot more mad at this performance than I am. I'm
It's
not.
the principle, Chase. It's the principle of the thing. Come on, man. Stand on your morals.
I mean, I get it, but I also gotta listen. Sometimes game is game, guys. I hate to break it to you. Sometimes, if Josh Van happens to do something slightly illegal and ends up winning the belt, and the ref don't call it, listen, I'm not gonna sit here and act like he's a fucking loser. No, he's the fucking champ. Like you got me fucked up. Like
Well, I mean, look, Chase is going full heel on this one, just like Con Offley did after his fight. So,
Speaking, we can actually, speaking of Josh Van, if you want to bring it to a bridge, in the matchup against Edgar Shirez, he grabbed the cage standing up and then threw an elbow. If he would have knocked Josh Van out instead of just stumbled him, would you have been sitting here saying, but he grabbed the cage while he would, like, it wasn't anything that actually mattered because it's not changing a position. They weren't grappling. He just happened to hold on to the cage before throwing a strike.
all
It
right. So
technically is illegal, but
that's what I'm saying. So you're making the point, though, is that, yeah, it wasn't a fight altering sequence, but had it been a lead to a knockout, yeah, I would be on here saying the exact same thing.
I probably would too, because it would be against Josh Van. That's the point that I'm making. It all depends on the perspective. If it's your guy, I mean, game is game. Con Oflay's not necessarily my guy, but listen, game happened to be game this time. He did get the win. Ricardo Ramos, dude's got 8 losses. Get up out of here already. Like I'm done with it.
Chat, just start spamming the word biased if
I
you
don't know. I'm just saying.
fair enough, but bringing it to the end of this thing, Awfully, however you want to look at what he did in the fight, he did end up getting the submission thereafter, and then goes, like I said, went full heel on the microphone, leaning into the heel status by telling the Brazilian crowd to shut up while he's talking. So I was like, okay, this dude is A, got some balls, and B, he's asking for a visit from the motorcycle guys.
Speaking of that, I think it's so Myron Santos, the guy who obviously knocked out Conor Flay in the finals of The Ultimate Fighter, he commented on this portion. And it was pretty cringe, I thought. He was like, "Don't tell my country to shut up. Look what I did to you in the last fight." Something like that. I was like, okay. I mean, I guess like you can't you figure out something else to do? Like I know it's Brazil. I know you want to try to have your moment on Twitter or whatever, but like I don't really think anybody gave a shit. Myron Santos, you arguably lost your like debut matchup, and then your last one was pretty. It was all right. It was all right
I was gonna
against
say,
Sadiq.
could go through the replies and see where Francis Marshall falls in all of that, you know.
Yeah, true.
But yeah, no, look, whatever. I mean, Ofly doing his thing on the microphone, I was not mad at that, you know. As I obviously have opinions about the Brazilian crowd, so somebody giving it back to them, I thought was kind of cool. I just wish that it wasn't after a performance like that. That's all I
Yeah.
said about that. So, all right, that's really about it for this one. Let's keep this thing moving along here. Next fight up is Jonathan Janice versus Mario Pinto, Mr. Bean over here, Mr. Pinto.
Yeah, this fight hilarious because we truly found out Jonathan Deniz has never once learned Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Being Brazilian himself, he decided to take the route of never once questioning why they lay on their backs. Like he doesn't even care. And it shows because Mario Pinto, probably one of the like I know the numbers aren't going to show what I'm saying, but he kind of is a bumbling fool when it comes to grappling. Like this dude, I mean, it is genuinely impressive that he got him down. And Jonathan is so bad at grappling that the way Pinto was able to grapple was working. It was effective, but like it genuinely had shades of like a Dricus Duplessis. Like he just put his head down and just like charge at you. I don't know. It honestly was kind of funky, but it worked. And he actually was able to get great positions. He was literally mounting up on Jonathan. Like in the first round, he gets full mount, and you're like, well, he's fucking cooked. He's not getting up. And he actually does a good job, gets out of it. Round ends. Now we're in round two. Same thing happens. You know, Mario gets him down and then fucking just, you know, the 4 strikes landed for Janice. What can you even say? I mean, this is a dude who's a kickboxing champion. At this point, you know, it was rightful for Vegas to think, give the odds to Janice. He's going to kickbox him for 3 rounds or whatever, or he's going to eventually find the shot. But like Pinto, and I told you this a while ago, we have all of our stock in Pinto. He has to be the one. There's no other heavyweight prospect as of the time that I said that we had chips in. Pinto was the one, and the fact that he was able to get a dub was awesome, and a finish was even better. But the fact that he kind of looks really goofy doing it makes me have more hope in him. I'm not going to lie. That's just the base to win these days, is just look like an idiot. I don't
There
know.
you go. Yeah, taking the Dricus model and running to new heights with it, perhaps. Yeah, no. The big takeaway definitely is that between this fight and the Tybura fight, Jonathan Janice has been figured out the same way that the Tafas and Tai Tuivasa got figured out. You're getting got by getting taken down. They're not going to stand back up, and that is just what's going to be the end of you. I mean, like that in this sport, you cannot not be able to stand back up. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how much knockout power you have. This is mixed martial arts. If you are only good at taking people's heads off, you are going to fail at some level. You know, you might be able to get away with it for a little while, but it will catch back up to you. We saw it with Tuivasa. We saw it with the Tafas. We're seeing it with Janice now. So yeah, I mean that's the unfortunate element of this, but I mean you think of that Pinto was such a goofball. I thought that he looked pretty okay with some of the. I think that the thing is just heavyweight wrestling in general looks kind of goofier in general.
I think that might be what it is. I mean, I don't know. I think he was probably always going to look funny being like with the wrestling game plan that he had, because this is a dude who is a striker and he does have, you know, it's not the best striking. Again, he's not somebody that you watch and you're like, man, this guy's got it all. Like he just kind of just goes in there and fights. Like he does just have that kind of throw meaty hooks and I'm gonna run into you and take you down kind of thing. I don't know. It was fine. It was fun.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the takedowns were good. I mean, the double leg was well timed in the first round. You know, I thought that it was good that he stuck with the control. You know, when Janice did end up actually getting up in the first, when he had enough energy for it, stuck with the control, got him back down to the mat. That was nice. Elbows were really heavy. Top down Kimura at one point. I mean, that's decent stuff going on. I
Yeah, that
thought
was actually good. I like that move. The
yeah,
key lock move, yeah.
yes, yeah, exactly. The key lock. Yeah. And I mean, and shout out to Janice, at least in that instance, to be able to get out of that because he had to roll through for that too. So, I mean, there at least is a little bit of, a little bit more leeway that you can give him in that, but no urgency out the gate in the second round for Janice. I was like, bro, if you know that your only shot is on the feet, then you got to take the chances when you get it. Same with Kavalkiewicz, like not adjusting her game plan between rounds. It's like if you didn't get finished the way that you were talking about, if you don't have the urgency to finish in the first round, even though Pinto was certainly trending that direction more than Pilastri was, but if that's the case, then like you in your corner need to be adjusting how you come back out. And Janice just did not do that. So round two, second verse, same as the first, pretty much solid takedown, full mount. We are seeing more and more full mount lately. That
Yeah.
is a very unfortunate display. At the highest levels of this sport, you should not be allowing full mount. That's just a fact of life, I would say.
The chat is bringing up just an extra good point. I know you probably have heard that Mario Pinto trains with Tom Aspinall. Tom Aspinall has always said he's not going to fight the guys that he trains with. So here we are once again. We have a prospect on our hands that Tom Aspinall is presumably just not going to fight if he gets to the top. So what do you think about that?
Um, we'll see when we get there. I mean, that's really what I'd say about it. I mean, once if Pinto can really like do this all the way up to the top, then that'll be a bridge that we cross when we get to that. I would suspect that there might be some people a little bit higher up. I'll tell you this. If Pinto can have a performance like that or somewhere close, get a victory over Jailton Almeida, then I'll take that conversation more seriously.
That's reaching a little
But
too
that's my
high.
point, though. That's what I'm saying. I mean, well, you're saying that he's going to be fighting Tom Aspinall. That's the biggest reach you can reach.
No, but he can avoid Jailton and get there. He can fight Waldo. He can fight Spivak. He can fight Pavlovich. He could fight Tybura. He could fight
I'm talking style for
Shabil.
style, though. I mean, like Jailton Almeida is going to be the last test because if you can get through those other guys you just named, you can do it with power. You can't get through Jailton Almeida with power alone unless you elbow him in the side of the head like Curtis Blades.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Pinto, like I said, I'm not going to tell you how he's going to do it. He definitely surprised me with how he fought this fight because in the fight with Austin Lane that he had, where he just knocks him out cold with just some big old meaty hooks. I mean, I can't really tell you that I expected much other than big meaty hooks from him. So when he came in here and he actually got takedowns, not necessarily in the way that I would say like I envisioned this guy getting takedowns. Like I said, it wasn't. I was having a time here. I'm not gonna lie. This guy is fun to watch. I'll just say that. Like I was at least interested in watching it and watching him pound Janice. I mean, it just really Janice really just don't have it for the ground game of the sport. If Pinto was on his second fight and he just magically comes up with grappling to just dominate you. I mean, Tyburo is one thing. It's like at the time you're like crafty vet, gets him down, works him over, splits him open at the end of the round, easy. But it's like Pinto, it's like, I mean, I guess they got the same amount of fights, but like, this is a guy who's just now getting into the sport and into the UFC, and he's able to just go ahead and take you down just like Tybura did, sit right on your chest and just smash you up and almost even break your fucking arm. Like so.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Janice, he's been exposed. I mean, that's really all
Yeah.
that it comes down to. It's like again, those same guys that I named all have that same problem. It's the same exposition, and they've all went through the same process. I would suspect that Janice is probably not long for the sport with that being the understanding, unless he can get some ground game. It's you cannot ascend to the highest levels of this sport without ground game. Point blank. Period.
100%.
So, yep, we will see. Oh, and I guess the only other thing I did want to mention is that Pinto trolling with his linguistic trolling, I said in his post fight was kind of cute, I guess.
Yeah, I was laughing about that a lot. I'm not gonna lie, because it was kind of funny for him to say. I was testing something out to say. Hey, big ups, mate. I appreciate everybody for coming here. It was just really good. Loved it.
Yeah, yeah, and obviously his Portuguese is perfect because he is Portuguese from Portugal.
Nice.
So that one of the rare people that could actually speak Portuguese in Brazil without being Brazilian.
Nice.
So
Love to
yeah,
see it.
yeah. So that was all fine there. Whatever, very cool. Yeah, big ups and all of that. Certainly not moving Buki and our
Oh,
our English fans will know what I'm talking about there.
Good deal. All right.
All right, moving on to the next one here: Vicente Luque versus Joel Alvarez. This was this. There was some weirdness in this one. First of all, we did not mention this last week, but this was the welterweight debut for Alvarez. Um, there were some things in this fight that gave me a little bit of a pause regarding his success at welterweight. We'll talk some of those things through, but the real story of this fight was, of course, the first round and the refereeing.
Yeah, so if you remember back when we had the stoppage with Neo Magny, and I said based on a technicality, the ref never waved he never waved his hands, so in theory, he could get away with not saying I called it off. That went out the window. The ref literally waved his hands and said it's over.
Yeah, that's the craziest part about it. I mean, the whole thing was just such it was so bizarre. This was really a bizarre sequence here.
Yeah, so what had happened is they stood in front of each other for maybe 30 seconds before Joel punches Vicente Luque right in the eye. And Vicente starts immediately crying that it's an illegal strike. Well, you go to the replay instant. That's what the replay's for. I love
Right.
that. We have it instant. Apparently, they have the little fucking rewind right on cue because you see completely legal strike. It was a thumb knuckle. It was a perfectly placed
It was like the
shot
back of
right to
the
the
it was like the back of the hand, basically.
I mean, still was legal. It's perfect, easy.
Yes, yes,
You know,
totally legal.
so the ref tells Vicente it was legal. Okay, well, get his ass back in the fucking fight. Let's go. And no, okay. Apparently, we're gonna get a stoppage. Apparently, we're gonna get the ref to look or the doctor to look at it. Apparently, we're gonna do all sorts of everything after you already called off the fight. And then you also get to it's the one thing that made me mad about the situation here. It's not that it was an illegal strike not that it was a legal strike and that he was claiming it was illegal. It was the fact that Vicente looks at Joel like, "Are you fucking for real?" And then the ref babies Vicente, and then he keeps fucking talking to Joel like, "Yeah, put your fucking fingers away, dude. Like, don't fucking, you know." And it was just like such a shitty attitude that made it look like Luque had a reason to be mad for a strike that was legal. And so the ref played into Vicente's hand. And honestly, we had a first round finish for Joel, perfectly placed shot, and then we have to watch 3 rounds of bullshit. So go on about the stoppage. I'll let you continue.
Yeah, no, I mean, really, just to reiterate a couple of the points. Yeah, Luque, it takes the perfectly legal shot. The ref calls time very dramatically. Like it did see. Like I mean, look, this ref, Osiris Maya is his name. I've seen him before, and he didn't have any kind of other like major things that stood out to me in other fights. But this time, it kind of seemed like there might have been some Brazilian bias going on, and I don't want to falsely attribute that, but all I saw was when he called time, he went time, we put the T up and did it like right in Joel's face. He was like, time. They like mean mugged him. I was like, dude, I like trust that I'm not making this up. Like I noted this specifically, very dramatically. Like, and then he like kind of like dragged him off to his corner or whatever. So like I say all of that to say, yes, there it was a dramatic moment, but like also giving more time on top of the time that he was eventually going to give on top of that. So like, yeah, he pulls him over to the corner, whatever. Go to the replay. Ref calls in the doctor and comment. The thing that bothered me the most about this, though, is that at some point in there, someone audibly acknowledged that it was legal. You heard somebody. I thought it was the referee. It could have been the officiators from outside the cage. Somebody says the word legal. You hear it said on the broadcast. So somebody knew that it was a legal strike. So why is this doctor in here? What is this doctor doing in here? It's a legal strike. You start the fight back up. There's no two ways about it. This was very bizarre. And as you said, this very well, Michael Bisping was he actually him and Gooden got into a little bit of a weird kind of confrontational segment there after the start of the second round because like Bisping's like, let me finish. But he was upset. He was like saying, look, this could have ended up being a finish for Alvarez that got robbed of that. And then I mean the rest of this fight was kind of goofy.
Yeah, so I actually wanted to bring that up. There was only one color commentator on this card, and it was Michael Bisping, which was
Yes.
interesting to see that we just had one of
Two-man
our
team,
guys.
yeah.
Yeah. And so yes, I wanted to actually bring that up as well. I'm glad you brought it up. Bisping was audibly like frustrated at this situation because the dude next to him, I forget you just said his name.
John Gooden, yeah.
So he was like, "No, no, no, Bisping, they're mad because they thought it was a legal strike." And he's like, "I know, I
Yes,
get,
John.
yeah,
Yes, I get it, John.
yeah." That was absolutely perfect. Like, yeah. So that was pretty funny. And then to cap off what you get for the rest of this fight is you get Joel Alvarez getting pieced up by Vicente Luque in a couple different exchanges, which is definitely a bad fucking sign. Like, you have Vicente Luque, who you just basically blinded, for the rest of the fight. And then you come in here the second round and he's just bombing you with hooks for a little bit. And it's like, Joel, it was cool when you kept your chin up and all you did was step backwards when you were at 55, but now you're not, and you're getting bombed by Vicente Luque. Like, it was pretty unreasonable for me to think that you were going to be a god up here, I guess, but I think that's out the door because what I saw you do for the third round clearly gave me insight of what you are prepared to do at welterweight, and that is fuck all. You sat on this dude's head for the last 3.5 minutes of this fight,
Yeah,
and not one elbow was laid to his rib
yeah.
cage. So whatever.
Well, okay, yeah. So you kind of got both points. So all of that is what I kind of was alluding to at the beginning of this segment. I was saying that there are some things that gave me a little bit of a pause when it came to my, I had said Joel Alvarez is one of my favorite fighters right now. I mean, he was going in and knocking people's heads off for a while there. Didn't look the same at welterweight, I would say. The piecing up by Luque was actually earlier in the fight. There were some times later on as well. There were a couple of decent shots from Luque, but like it was actually earlier. I was like, oh, Luque is landing on him right now, and that was like, oh man, Alvarez is actually like kind of not reacting. I mean, it wasn't like he like got stumbled or anything like that, but you could see like he would like, oh shoot, I'm getting hit over here. It just didn't look like he was equipped for it. So that was that. But yeah, I mean, Luque sort of like navigated this fight a little bit poorly, like towards the middle to end of it. So like when you say, yeah, he sat on his head for 3.5 minutes, that is definitely true. And you were right. He did not do enough in that position. I mean, Bisping was talking about that too. He's not throwing elbows at all. He's just sitting on him. That was unfortunate. And like, again, gives me pause. But I think that what really concerned me is that like, if it had not been Luque essentially crumbling himself, because there was that one time towards the end of the fight where I think that started off the sequence with him sitting on his head, was that Luque, he went for a single leg and then sort of like pulled guard, but like crumbled himself downward. Like it was a very awkward transition to the ground. And then Alvarez was just like, okay, I guess we're on the ground now. I'll just start doing top work. You know what I mean? So it's like my point with that is that if you're not going to have an opponent, this is welterweight, man. There are way better people that are not going to let that kind of thing happen at the top of this division. So if you've got that from Vicente Luque, and this is how Alvarez reacts to it, I am very concerned about what's going to happen when he is with somebody who is not going to allow that.
It's just like, I would assume that you would watch the sport. Like, so with Yoel Alvarez, right? He just watched last week's, event. He just watched Alex smash Ankalaev with elbows, all up and finish him. But you have Vicente Luque underneath you cowering, and you don't think not one time should I just destroy this dude and get this fight over with? Because
At
you,
least to the body, right? I mean, at least elbows to
do
the side.
exactly, like you even look at back John Silva against that Bagasarian dude. It's like as soon as he got him on the ground, he just started smashing him with the rib cage, like because he was just cowering up. It's like, where was that, Joel? Like, I don't, like, this is a dude who finished 22 of his last like 23 wins or some shit like that. And now magically, I mean, you got a first round finish. And in theory, in my books, you finished Vicente Luque. He didn't want to get up. He didn't want to perform. But on the record books, it's like, dude, the sitting on his head actually just pisses me off so much. Like, because like, Vicente's laying there, the ref grabs his arm and he's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. It's like, dude, you have your head being sat on right now. It's like, you're not good, obviously, but like, it's obviously not worse because the dude on top is doing nothing, like nothing but just sitting there. There was the fact that there's a technicality. It is a submission move, but like, the ref needs to be able to go ahead and fucking stand that up.
Nah, well, I mean, because that's the thing. I mean, that is the caveat to all of this is that he was in an inverted triangle for that time. So it's like, I mean, I kind of see it, but even still, I mean, like the fact that it's not actually doing the finishing, you want to see more. So it's like I can't be too mad at the ref for that one. There's plenty to be mad at the ref for in this fight. So, whatever with that. But that's not the issue to me. It's the inactivity with the elbows for sure. Like this might be one of those rare cases where moving up does not transition. I hate to say that because I really do think that Alvarez was a killer at the lower weight, but this fight gives me a lot of reservations about someone who I was very high on.
Yeah, I mean, we got to remember at the end of the day, this is a grapple guy. Like I'm pretty sure he's got 15 submissions or whatever it is. 17 submissions, never been submitted, only 5 knockouts. So he's not necessarily the killer on the feet that we probably should expect him to be at welterweight because he never was at lightweight. So the fact that he didn't understand that he wasn't going to get that inverted triangle or whatever, and he just left it there is like, where'd the killer go? 17 times before did that inverted triangle not work, probably, and you moved on to something else that worked. Whatever you want to say. This was the case where I don't like, Hydra said it a minute ago, maybe he just felt really bad. I mean, in Brazil, he already basically finished him in the first round, and now he's fucking pity party. The refs got to come, the doctor's got to come in and check on him, and now this is a dude that had a brain bleed. He's in front of his family, maybe I don't know, but like, is that the type of shit that I want to hear from a guy that
Yeah,
I want to be betting on? No, probably not.
that's what I was going to say. I mean, all of that goes out the window when you are in a fist fight at the highest levels of this professional fighting organization. So all of that should be a moot point. Yeah, this was concerning, to be perfectly frank. I said, I like Joel Alvarez, granted he got the win, so good deal there. But like I would, for the longest time, I would have said that is your surest lock of any card. I don't care who he's fighting. That says he's going to be your lock. I had very high hopes going forward. Welterweight, we're going to have to see if maybe he adjusts. Maybe he's just feeling out the weight. Maybe there's a level of growth that he will encounter within the new weight, perhaps, now that he's actually felt the power, which is crazy to say when it's coming from Vicente Luque. But it remains to be seen. And that performance definitely gives me a little bit of concern.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. Well, moving on to the co-main event of the evening. It was Davison Figueiredo versus Montel Jackson. Wow, did Montel Jackson go out there and play the role of a living statue for a lot of this fight?
I mean, honestly, not much to talk about in this fight. I think
It's true.
what is the only thing that I want to talk about is that one of the judges actually said Montel Jackson won this fight. And that's pretty impressive. Like, how could you be watching what I saw? One, watching nothing happen. These were two dudes that genuinely just didn't have anything. Like Figgy was walking forward, but Montel wasn't able to. I don't know. This dude just doesn't know how to throw a fucking punch. Apparently, they talked about how this dude's, his reach. He's got 75-inch reach. That's just, it's longer than Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley knows how to throw a fucking punch. At least he can keep people on the outside of his kicks and his jab. Montel Jackson apparently gets Figueiredo and can't do shit. And what's funny is Figueiredo got hit a couple times and felt the power and readjusted and switched stances and came from a different angle. But Montel never once trusted his ability to strike. And Figgy, it's not even like he was just going to town with him. Like, dude, he landed 23 strikes. This is genuinely the most washed champ that we have. And like, and listen, I love Figgy. I really do. He's a champ. He was a champ. I don't like the disrespect, especially at 270. I would have told you to take this money right here. But the fact that I just saw him throw 23 strikes in a winning performance, and he didn't, dominate him in the grappling. He didn't even get a sub attempt off. Never even once did, whatever you want to say. That is the classification of a washed champion. Like I've seen him go to war with Moreno 4 times or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
23 strikes against Montel Jackson is ridiculous.
Yeah, I said that I don't think that there was a single instance in this fight, maybe aside from the very first striking attempt, that Jackson was ever first to the draw. If his game was to counter, he didn't do it nearly enough. He was out there taking pictures, as DC would say. I mean, it was all of that. I mean, Figueiredo, very early on did a nice job of evading the early combo attempt. That was the one that I was talking about where he was first. He got under the shot, turned it into a trip takedown. All very good there. I mean, Jackson defended well. I that was on the watch along the big takeaway for me. It was like he's doing good defensive work, but then when he is in a position where he was able to have offensive control, he just waits and doesn't do anything. I mean, like he was just it was like he was that look when like you see a guy like doing the math in their mind, like I'm going to do this and then this is going to happen and this is going to happen and then I'll get the shot. Like they're like setting it up in their mind. It looked like he was doing that, but the math wasn't mathing in his brain. Like he just never actually got to the answer that he wanted. He never solved for X, so to speak. You know what I mean? There's all these numbers going around in his head and he just let them continuously swirl there. So yeah, I mean, he did end up turning up a little bit at the very end of the second round after getting outworked on the feet and partially on the ground. So it was like, okay, maybe there was a little bit there that the only thing that you could possibly say could have maybe given the judge the impression that he took a round, but there's no way. What I said on the watch along too, I was like, what other round, if you wanted to be charitable and give him the third round because he was maybe doing more work than Figgy was because Figgy was slowing down in that third round, like that's charitable. That's very charitable, I would say, because this was 30-27 as far as I was concerned. But so if you're going to say that that's the one round that you could possibly have like a latch on to, which of those other two rounds could possibly have been it?
I actually think Hydra said something really really good here. He got taken down one time. He went first, and then got scared, and then tried to counter 23 shots. So that explains why he couldn't fucking strike at all, because he did try to counter every one of the 23 that were coming back at him.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, but not actually letting the hands go to do the countering.
Yeah,
So it was a really like just an abysmal performance and one that I mean, based on our conversation, what I was basing the decision on this one for or from rather was the Damon Blackshear fight. It's like he finished it late, but he had to work a whole hell of a lot to get there. I'm really glad that was the basis for this, because not being able to set it up the way that you wanted with that is what Figueiredo was able to still do, even if he is washed or whatever. He still was able to navigate smartly enough to not get himself into a position to be knocked out, which is all that he had to do. And this is the result of that. So worked fine in the long run, even with a split decision, which is absolute nonsense, but take the money and run, I suppose.
yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I mean, Figueiredo talking about wanting to fight for a belt, I'm like, got Merab would throw you all over the place for five. Figueiredo would be the exact sacrificial lamb as every other Merab opponent would be.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, and that brings us to our main event of the evening. This is Charles Oliveira versus Mateusz Gamrot. 2 weeks notice for Gamrot, of course, replacing Rafael Fiziev in this fight. What did you think of Mateusz Gamrot?
I thought this was well. What did I think about Mateusz Gamrot? Well, the first time that he got finished was in Rio against Sir Charles de Bronx Oliveira. But the funniest thing that I thought that happened was that Gamrot ran out of the tunnel, and I don't know if you saw. He thought it was a straight shot to the cage, so he just ran straight into the crowd, which was pretty funny.
You're always talking about how I'm not on Twitter very much. This was one time that midstream I had to jump on Twitter to say, what the hell were you thinking, bro? It was very funny to me as well, the way that it all worked out, because it's not like the camera started with him running. You saw him walking, and then all of a sudden bolt, and there was a guy with some cabling that was sitting, the cable page they call those guys, the guys that hold the cable to make sure that people don't trip on him. You saw this guy like get scared for his life as Gamrot just went shooting past him and then almost going face first into the barricade. What a dunce.
Yeah, that was pretty funny, and it makes it even funnier that he was rushing out to the cage to get finished this fucking quick.
Get it over with.
That's what it seems like. I mean, for somebody who's never been finished in his career, Charles Oliveira is one of the most electrifying and the most efficient finishers that we do have in the promotion of all time. But Gamrot, I mean, I think he was just a little too overzealous. I think he was too confident that he was going to walk in and walk out of here. But and honestly, Charles is He's crafty I know listen, I can't tell you guys something that you don't already know. Charles Oliveira is crafty off his back. He can make things happen. He can get you into traps, and he can make you. I mean, he can just distract you with his legs. Then, dude, this is so funny. Gamrot had Charles' leg, and he was just like doing this move with it, and like Charles was just doing shit, and he had him in the omoplata. He was doing just anything, and then by the end of it, he gets your back, and then he chokes you out. Charles is just, again, not somebody you want to grapple with. I think Gamrot had the game plan that my wrestling is just going to overpower his grappling, and he walked in and walked out with an easy loss. I mean, I don't think. Listen, it's short notice, I get it, but like for somebody who's never been finished in their career, this is not something you take lightly. Like I do believe he had the utmost confidence. Like I split decision with Armin over 5 rounds. Charles Oliveira lost to Armin. Like I got this. I don't know if he really expected to get finished, and that's unfortunate for him because he really just took a fucking. It's not a bad loss because losing to Charles, getting finished by Charles, okay, 15, 17 other people had let that happen to him, whatever you want to say. But Gamrot, at this point in your career, taking that loss, like you now you're gonna have to come back and win 2 more convincing, like to get your opportunity. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if that, like, this might not have been the worst loss, but it was certainly a dominated loss. It was a dominant win for Charles here because this was just a really masterful grappling display throughout all of this fight. And I was kind of perplexed because in the chat on the watch along, a whole bunch of people were saying, "Oh, Gamrot by sub. Gamrot's going to sub your boy." Blah. And I was like, what I had said, I think I said it on the podcast. I was like, if Gamrot's winning this fight, it is by boring clinched decision. Like there is no way that he's going to outclass Charles when it comes to grappling. Surely that can't happen. And this is what you get out of trying to get overzealous with Charlie Olives when he is dead set on taking your neck. Like
Yeah.
I also had said that Charles may not have changed his name to the Predator, but he certainly was one in this fight. He was hunting Gamrot at every turn. Like, I mean, like you were saying, it was just doing anything. It's a do whatever. Like you brought up the omoplata. Like it was like the interesting element of it was that it was like an odd, like there was a little too much distance in it. So it wasn't like your like firm omoplata, but the fact that he was close enough to an omoplata actually working at this level of the sport is insane to think about. When was the last time you saw an omoplata finish? I
Yeah, I
guarantee
mean,
you can't tell me,
right.
So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it's good for Charles. I'd love to see him back in the win column, especially getting a finish against somebody who's never been finished. I mean, Charles is one of, again, premier finishers in the organization for a reason. I mean, the fact that he was going up against Fazeev, uh, I honestly was a little worried from the power of him being knocked out, but Charles is cool, man. Fuck it. He's good. Who cares?
That I am glad you said it exactly like that. That because I was talking to Bloomis a little bit about this fight. Shout out to our good buddy Bloomis, who is a big Oliveira fan, and he said, "How can you not love Charlie Olives?" And what I would say to this, and this is the nuanced take of the whole thing for me, is that I got a lot of love and respect for Charlie Olives. I think he is one of the greats of the sport, but I just put him in this class of fighter that can win fights, but like it just there's that little like switch that just doesn't get him to the like to be able to beat the top of the sport at this point. At this point, he already achieved it. You know what I'm saying? He felt the belt. He wore that belt. The champ has a name. We all remember it. So like, I it's like, yeah, I do. Like I come away from this victory with that feeling. Can he still win fights? Sure. We now know that for sure. And that was what I was skeptical of because I had already said I thought that I got that feeling he was on the backslide. So maybe I'm wrong about that part of it. But will he ever be champ again? I highly doubt it. And I just have this like kind of meh feeling about it. I just have this sort of like, the takeaway from this is like, yeah, I'm really glad that Charlie got a nice win in front of the Brazilian crowd, doing it in front of the home country. He's super respectful. I like him as a person. As a potential champion going forward, I just sort of am indifferent when it comes to Charles because I just don't think that he's going to be able to re-achieve it.
I also don't think I'm going to see the belt for Charles in the near future, but he can go ahead and continue to have these electrifying fights. If he wants to continue having fights in Rio, he's undefeated, so Give him whoever in Rio, and let's see if he can defy the odds. I mean, he wants to headline a card with Alex Bejeda. That would be pretty cool. BMF belt against Max. I mean, hey, listen, that does sound pretty cool. But as of right now, I don't care, man. Charles Oliveira's back. I mean, we've reset the timeline, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it is cool that he was able to get a good victory after the knockout from Ilya. And Hydra making a good point here, saying that Ilya, people who think that Ilya has been fighting washed opponents, that's certainly been proven wrong time and time again here. And in fact, I think I saw the stat that every opponent that Ilya has faced has won their next fight. Every high level opponent that Ilya has gone up against as champion has won on their comeback. So these are all fighters of a great caliber. It's proving Ilya to be one of the scariest fighters in the world right now.
Ilya went to 5 rounds that Yusuf Zalal disposed of in 30 seconds. So,
well, all right. I mean, so there you go. Yusuf Zalal next up. You heard it here first from Chase.
The rematch is coming.
But I mean, that's pretty much all that I feel about this fight, though. It was definitely a dominant performance. It was really high level grappling, which that Oliveira has. So, take that away and feel good about a good guy getting a win. I definitely don't take that for granted. I like to see good people win. But that's really what the extent of it is for me.
All right, we got to talk about the highlight. Charles Oliveira lifts baby above his head. What do we think of it?
Zizenya, Lion King. Yes. Well, I mean, that was pretty wild. I thought somewhat reckless, I would say, with a lot of people around, but I guess he had a firm enough grip on the baby. Maybe, I don't know. It seemed a
Listen,
little bit scary.
I don't have a problem with the sentiment itself, but I was thinking like with a UFC glove on, like surely like there's not like a great grip, like it's making you form like what the glove is, but
Yeah, it was a little precarious, I would say. The other thing that I noticed about this, and this is the level of analysis that you're going to get from this show, is that baby did not have any hearing protection on. It was a very loud arena there, Chase. That's poor parenting, I would say. Just putting it out there.
It should happen. Kids want to listen to sounds.
That kids want to go deaf very early, is what happens when that happens. But
Hydra actually had a great idea. The aura shield is what
Aura
saved
shield.
the ears.
I like it. Yes, very true. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a nice moment. The Brazilian crowd just loving Charles Oliveira. Obviously, as you knew that was going to be the case, but God, he jumps out into that sea of people, and it's just like, I mean, homecoming, return to the king. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that was certainly very cool. Baby needs a little bit more, a little bit more sheltering, I would say, but still a funny one. And you got a nice meme out of it with Charles doing that and Simba and Rafiki. So,
Oh, the better one is him holding up Gamrot.
Okay. Gotta love it. Yeah, he was holding that baby like, a waitress carrying a tray of drinks out to the VIP section.
True.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's about it for me, though. I mean, like you said, he called out Max Holloway. I think that's fine if they want to do it. Max accepted the call out. We'll see if the organization wants to do it. That's about all I felt about this fight.
Yeah, this one was a quick one. Not too much happened other than Gamrot got out. I mean, he got shown that Charlie Olives is not washed. I mean, that's basically all that happened.
Yeah, well, and the other thing that happened is that he did it in over 1.5 rounds. So that parlayed with Figueiredo getting the win, won your boy all the money that he lost on earlier fights. So thank you very much for doing it in over 1.5, Charlie. You made your boy some cash.
Hell yeah.
So that brings us to the end of UFC Fight Night, Oliveira versus Gamrot. Chase, after talking it through, what are your final thoughts?
It was okay. I mean, it was one to go through. I think you guys have better opinions about what you witnessed than I do about some of these fighters. Some of them I'm looking forward to next time. Some of them I am not. But I will tell you, I will be watching all of their next performances if they end up being in the UFC.
All right. Well, fair enough. I thought it was pretty good on the prelims. As I said, there was some goofy stuff going on when it came to, the refereeing, a little bit of judging goofiness, and some really good finishes, in general. So, I mean, I was very happy about the finish rate on this card. I can kind of see after talking it through where, you might have wanted a little bit more out of certain fights, but overall, I was pretty satisfied with this. It's certainly a serviceable fight night, I would say.
100%.
All right. Well, that brings us to the upcoming card, which is, of course, UFC Fight Night DeRitter versus Allen that is taking place in Vancouver. What do you think about this, considering that this was supposed to be Rainier DeRitter versus Fluffy Hernandez?
I think Brendan Allen is a good replacement for that. I think, this is somebody who's, listen, I was never the biggest fan of Brendan Allen until he earned my respect. And he's somebody who genuinely, I think, is well deserving of fandom because he's game. He will go into any fight, any amount of notice against really scary opponents. And he's not always going to be the guy that you say is, he's likely to get a finish, but you could always assume that like he's probably not gonna get finished himself. Like I don't know, he does have a lot of heart, and I do like that about Brendan Allen and Renee DeRitter. I think I think Brendan Allen might have a good stylistic matchup here. I don't want to be putting a lot of my chips in RDR. It's the same thing with everybody else. If RDR gets past that one fighter that I really truly believe is his hardest test as of right now, then I will be on the train. I think this is it for him. I know it's short notice, but Brendan Allen is always ready. All in Allen. He never gets ready because he's always ready. And he will show up here ready to strike. And if RDR wants to use this grappling that everybody says that he's really good at, we will see. But you guys got to remember, RDR is 35 years old. Stepping in on short notice is 29-year-old Brendan Allen. I think I'm going to take the youthful spirit here. This is a guy who is, one, also an accomplished grappler. Two, will go out and grapple against other high level UFC competition. You have Brendan Allen who grappled against Caio Bahaio in the grappling submission series. He's not, somebody who's just a folklore grappler. This is somebody who has got like 4 rear nakeds in a row. This is somebody who can get submissions. So he can actually knock people out too. He can listen. Brendan Allen is one of these dudes that I will ride for as of right now, and I think I'm going with Brendan Allen for this.
I appreciate your analysis on this. Actually, I think that that is all very well thought out. Well stated. The only thing that you are missing is the goofball factor when it comes to Rainier de Ritter. And I think that just earlier in this very show, you were talking about the goofball factor being one of the strongest bases in this sport.
I don't know if you've ever caught on to it, but Brendan Allen does have a little bit of the goofball in him. He is kind of one of those dudes that just he finds a way, and I don't know. I think there's a little bit in there for him. That's all that I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, compared to what this was going to be with Fluffy, I think that this is actually a stronger a stronger leveling of the playing field because Rainier de Ritter and Brendan Allen have a very similar set of skills if you really break it down. Like Rainier de Ritter will strike. I think the one thing that Rainier de Ritter might have a little bit of an advantage in is maybe knees and elbows. But that shouldn't be like the end all be all. If the other guy is coming at you full force, then that should be one of many components, of course. But if you take that one element of it away, you've got a very game striker in Allen. We just found that out in his last fight. Brendan Allen will come to strike if you want to strike with him. Like he is up for whatever you're throwing at him. And the acumen when it comes to the grappling is certainly there for him. So Rainier, obviously a dude that everybody is touting as one of these very high level competitive BJJ guys. Brandon Allen will fight you. He'll meet you in the middle. He will fight the fight that you want to fight. So Rainier de Ritter can kind of decide how he wants this fight to go, and Brandon Allen will say, "All right, let's do it." That all being said, I think that really the only X factor is the X factor when it comes to Rainier de Ritter. Just the fact that he is a little bit more unorthodox and perhaps going to be able to give Allen looks that you're not going to be able to get in all of the training that he's done because he is just kind of unique. Is that going to be enough? I think is the big question here. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case. Brandon Allen, you talk about the age difference. Brandon Allen has a lot of experience for his age. I mean, Rainier de Ritter has a lot of experience too, and of course he is a two-time champion over there and one championship coming over with some good credentials. Being able to translate that in the UFC has been impressive. But this is Brandon Allen, who has been in the UFC for a very long time, racking up that experience in the organization. So I think that this is a very big test for Rainier de Ritter. I will tentatively go with him just because I do think that maybe the uniqueness is something to bank on a little bit, but I think that you make a very strong case for Brendan Allen, Chase. So if he does win this fight, I will not be surprised.
Yeah, I like Brendan Allen here at plus money.
Yeah, I say exactly. Especially for plus money, I think that I might end up having a parlay with him on it just to hedge my bets.
Hell yeah.
All right, next up in your co-main event is Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. This is an interesting matchup considering that Mike Malott, aside from the Neil Magny fight, he had never had a fight like that before that. After that has looked pretty good, so maybe it's just the curse of Neil Magny that is why Neil Magny deserves all of the respect. That's a different issue for a different time to talk about. But if you take the Neil Magny fight out of the Mike Malott equation, this on paper at least seems like a pretty competitive fight.
If you look at the experience level, I mean, I think it should just be clear cut who is going to walk away with it. I mean, Kevin Holland has fought everybody there is under the sun. What is Mike Mallet that Kevin Holland hasn't fought? This is just another guy who he's very, it's an all around guy who can do a little bit of everything. But what can he do that's great that Kevin Holland hasn't been able to overcome that other people have had? It's not like Mike Malot's got Hamzat's wrestling, so he's just going to ragdoll Holland. That's only happened with Hamzat kind of deal. Other people get over with him, but it's like same thing with JDM. It's like Mike Malott has good striking, but JDM has got the best striking in fucking welterweight right now, apparently. And Kevin Holland arguably won split decision against. So whatever you want to
True.
say, I mean, Mike Malott is just not what Kevin Holland hasn't seen before. This is an average day at the office for Kevin Holland. I mean, going up against Hamzat on fucking days' notice is like, listen, obviously he don't have a fucking chance when in hindsight. But like when you look at this, it's like, what does Mike Mallet actually have that Kevin Holland should be worried about? And maybe and obviously Mike Mallet is a little more threatening than say your Daniel Rodriguez. So I'm not saying it in a way that like Kevin Holland should just write him off completely and come get smoked by Daniel Rodriguez. No, there's definitely things that Mike Malott is good at, but Kevin Holland should take it reasonably serious. That like, okay, this is an upcoming prospect who's got skills. Here's how I beat him. It's not like, oh, I'm just gonna smoke 10 blunts a day and then go fight D Rod. Like I don't know.
You're making my exact point, and I feel like the biggest broken record of all time when it comes to Kevin Holland, but it's always the $1 million question. I just call it the Kevin Holland question at this point. Is he going to take the fight seriously? Is he going to show up wanting to win, or is he going to show up rolling out of bed, not caring, and then raising his hands at the end, saying, "Damn, guys, it just wasn't, man, I really got fucked up in that one, didn't I?" And I always say Kevin Holland is betting poison because of this mentality that he has. It's like you come inside. I mean, granted, in the Rodriguez fight, he did seem like he was trying to win it, so that is a little bit more concerning. I don't think that Mike Malott and D Rod really have a comparable set of credentials. You know what I mean? Like or set of their skill set is not exactly the same. So like I think that Mike Malott is actually kind of a more skilled striker, but Kevin Holland should be able to get around that striking with some solid ground game. Like Kevin Holland is a very skilled grappler. So it's really always the same issue time and again. Is Kevin Holland going to take the fight seriously? I never know the answer to that. So because of that, I sometimes bank on the opponent just getting the better of him because he doesn't take the fight seriously. So, I mean, for that reason, and aside from the Neil Magny fight, I will tentatively go with Mike Malott, not because I think Mike Malott is that great. I really don't. A win over Trevin Giles really does not move the needle in any significant way for me. But again, it's the Kevin Holland question. I never know the answer. I will stay away from betting on this fight. I guarantee you that. But when it comes to making a prediction on it, I mean, my gut says Kevin Holland should win this fight. If he shows up, he will. How about that?
Yeah, we will definitely see. I'm not gonna think Mike Malott is up next. I mean, if he does beat Kevin Holland, like I said about Renier de Ritter, if he beats Kevin Holland, I mean, okay, questions are asked. He can beat the X Factor kind of fighter, and that's all you really need to be able to prove. I mean, once I know you have the skills, now you beat the dude who can throw anything at you, and then now we're talking cooking with grease.
True. And just because I have been seeing it in the chat, sadly to say, chat, Chase is 100% right about the JDM versus Holland fight, though. So just had to put that out there. I know y'all love JDM, and that's perfectly fine. But if you go back and rewatch that fight, Kevin Holland kind of cooked in that fight.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right, moving on. Marlon Chito Vera versus Eamon Zahabi. Of course, Eamon Zahabi been on quite a run lately in his old age, but still out there, still winning fights. Chito Vera, not as much lately.
Yeah, Cheeto Vera hasn't fought in maybe over a year.
Feels like it. It might have been very early this year, but yeah, yeah.
So I mean, Ayman Zahabi just came off of a fucking war, probably one of the craziest third rounds you've ever seen in your life. But he's also getting up there in age, and I know I've said this a couple different times, and I've never been the biggest fan of him, but I'm not gonna buy into the Marlon Vera fucking highlights again. I'm not gonna buy into him talking about how if he was on the street, dude, he'd fucking rip open your stomach and play with your guts. Dude, I'm done. I'm done with it. Just stop. Ayman Zahabi winning in 3 rounds, probably a decision.
Yeah, no, I agree entirely. Eamon Zahabi is coming in with a very large amount of skills that Cheeto does not possess. Cheeto is a tough guy, kind of wannabe brawler sort of dude. He doesn't get finished, so there's your one credit to him. But Eamon Zahabi not only has his own skill set, but he has his brother. Faraz,
Perez.
Faraz Zahabi, who is one of the most underrated coaches in the game, in my opinion. Honestly, I think Faraz Zahabi is a very, very high level coach. That team is just a talent factory. The only detriment to Eamon Zahabi in his career, in my estimation, has been his inactivity. I don't know what the reason for that has been. You know, he seems to be selective about when he wants to fight. Maybe now trying to fight more in his later years for whatever reason. But that is the only glaring hole that I have seen. The guy is really technically sound. He's not the most exciting fighter on the planet. So yeah, you're not necessarily going to get fireworks, even though you did get them in the Aldo fight. But this is an absolutely winnable fight for Eamon Zahabi. So I will agree with you and say he will win.
Yeah, I like that one.
There you go. All right, this is one that we had a little bit of a conversation about in the chat during the last watch along. This is Manon Fiorot versus Jasmine Jazdavicius. My boy E Money J, shout out to E Money J, was asking why Jazdavicius is such a big underdog in this fight. And what I said to that is, I understand why she is a big underdog in this fight compared to Manon Fiorot. However, I do think that Jazdavicius is a barking dog. I think that this is a very live dog here. Now, granted, Manon Fiorot is not only a skilled fighter, but also a bit of a weight bully. So, you know, she probably is going to be a lot bigger. But Jasmine Jazdavicius is one of those like sleeper, under the radar kind of fighters who's been winning a lot and is very skilled. And I think can take the fight to Manon.
I've honestly always kind of been a fan of Manon Farrow. I do like her game. It's very clean cut. She stays on her feet. She boxes. She defends takedowns. I mean, there's nothing else to it. And when you're in women's MMA, I mean, if you have a game that is, the little trifecta, whatever you want to say, uh, I mean, it works for her. And Jasmine is not somebody that, you know, I don't dislike her. I don't think she's the worst. But, against Manon, I mean, I don't know. I feel like Manon has given me a consistent game that I can really bank on. Jasmine has also been that, but I think Manon has just done it against the opponents that I would say are worthy on a resume. But I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think that, I mean, this is definitely the biggest test that Jazdavicius has faced in her career, hands down. This is, you know, if she wins this, then she is absolutely champ potential. That's going to be the big question. We have seen Manon have trouble with high level grapplers. So, I mean, that would be the one thing that I'd be banking on here is that if Jazdavicius can get under the striking, get her to the ground, we know that Manon can be held down. So, you know, it's not always necessarily going to be the case. I think Aaron Blanchfield was the big, you know, the one that people thought was going to be able to do that and did not have that success. So, is Jazdavicius better in that regard? I'm at this moment in time saying it is a possibility. So for that reason, I will pick her to win this fight, but this is one I'm not super confident about either. I think that you know, Manon has a very defined skill set, and if you let her have her fight, she'll punch circles around you basically.
And I don't know if anybody out there was listening, but we just had a disagreement. And if you didn't already know, you can like our channels individually on the person whose opinion you think is the best. So
That's
just keep
right.
that in mind.
Indeed, we've been disagreeing on a couple of these so far tonight. So yes, we are streaming to our individual channels, like the person's channel that you think has the better takes here.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so I mean that's about. I mean, like again, I will not be super surprised if Manon can box her head off. I just think that Jasmine, this is definitely one of the cases where you need to be like, if you have seen any tape on Manon Fiorot, you know what her game plan is. So go in there with the knowledge that she is going to want to box, get her to the ground, win the fight on the ground.
Yeah, and if it's that easy for Jasmine, I mean, she will have proved a lot to me. If she does Menon easy on the ground, I mean, that's good work.
Yes, yes, I agree entirely. Absolutely, yeah. All right, well, moving on to the next one here. Why no picture for my buddy? Oh my God,
Yeah, that's bogus.
that is extremely bogus. So this is Cody Gibson versus Ariki Long. Cody Gibson, friend of the show, friend of the channel, and a personal friend of mine. This is a heinous disrespect that he does not have a picture on ESPN. I'm going to be sending him a message about this, but I say all of that to say this is not only, sadly to say, a make or break fight for Cody, but this is an entirely winnable fight for Cody Gibson, I would say.
It is, yes, the winnable fight that he needs, but it's unfortunate that after a loss, a submission loss, I believe is what it was, and it's unfortunate that he's the favorite in this one. I was really hoping Vegas would fade him and I would get some dog money out of Cody because I'm telling you, it's this is easy. This is Cody. He's just gonna grapple him. He's gonna get him down. Hopefully sub.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's legitimately the path to victory here. What I would say based on the fight you were referencing there, the Damon Blackshear fight, if there was any advice that I could give to Cody in this fight is you obviously your wrestling is going to be your strongest base. He is, in my estimation, one of the best wrestlers in the UFC. I know that may be crazy with the record and the lineage with him, but if
Cody Gibson.
I mean, look, obviously there's a lot of factors that go into that, but I do think that, I'll at least say this. He has one of the most solid body triangles in all of the UFC. That I stand on business on, for real. But what I would say is that, yes, wrestling is going to be your strongest base. But in the Damon Blackshear fight, I remember distinctly saying there was a time that he had Damon hurt with his hands. He was doing some really nice striking. So let your hands go until you need to use your wrestling is what I would say here. Now, Ariki Long is going to want to strike. I mean, he is an okay wrestler, but that's not going to add up. So I would suspect that he's going to want to keep this thing striking. Go in there and be the striker that you can be up until you need to change course, because Ariki Long is not going to knock him out. I do not think that there is really much potential for Ariki Long to get a knockout here. So
No, Cody's
yeah.
got a chin. He always really has. I mean, I've seen this dude go to war. Like I said, if you go back to the Tough finale, Tough 32, him and Bragatona, I mean, this dude takes a lot of shots. So I have no problem thinking that he can just eat anything Ariki Lang is going to give him. It's really dependent on how quick he's going to be able to get him to the ground and implement the game plan. Even if it doesn't work in the first, if you get him down in the first and it's relatively easy, you don't have to go for it right then and there. Just, rack up some control time, chip away, do some damage. And then in the second round, if you get him down again, that's where you really start looking for the kill shots. You're going to have to start pulling, get the back, get the rear naked, get a Kimura, get a Dars, anything you want to say. All the opportunities are going to be here. Ariki Lang is literally just a random Chinese guy. Like, I hate to break it to you guys, but
Yeah, I mean, he's had his ups, he's had his downs. He's honestly and sadly, when it comes to the record, a similar boat to Cody, and that seems kind of crazy to think about with the difference in the skill level. I really would hate to see Cody getting cut over a fight like this when I know, like in my soul, that he can win this fight. So Cody, go out there and get this win because he can do it.
give him hell, kid.
Exactly. Do it for the tough guys.
Oh, yeah.
All right, next up, Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frivola. Of course, Matt Frivola just waking up from that knee that Frez Zayam knocked him out with in France. So coming off of a pretty bad loss, Kyle Nelson not one to play with, really. Kyle Nelson's actually a pretty dogged fighter. So this being a pick'em right here does not surprise me. Maybe a little bit with Matt Frivola's track record. I'm thinking that Kyle Nelson's probably a good pick here.
I'm not the biggest fan of either of these guys. I will tentatively say Kyle Nelson. You know what? No, shout out America. We're going Matt Favola.
All right, hey, nothing wrong with shouting out the red, white, and blue, but I've just seen Kyle Nelson get the job done pretty effectively in the past. I mean, granted, he's not a finisher. He's definitely going to be grindy. I mean, I think he has a couple of finishes, but like he's not one of those dudes that's sparking a lot of conversation. He's a grapple, grindy, heavy, or a wrestle heavy guy. He'll clinch you up on the cage. He'll move you around. He's a big guy too. I mean, he's decently tall. He's got a couple inches on Favola, so he can impose his will. It's just a matter of if he can like do that for the entirety of the fight. Favola's tough. I just think Nelson is more dogged.
Yeah, I hear that.
All right. Moving down to the prelims here. Hey, it's Louis' brother. It's Charles Jourdain versus Davy Grant. I mean, Davy Grant, a dude who I think has been faded one too many times, getting faded here again. What do you think about this?
I would love to think Charles Jourdain can go ahead and win this one, but Davy Grant apparently is just defying all the odds. Every dude that I think finally should be able to beat this dude, they just don't. Charles Jourdain, the striking that he has is not going to fare well with how Davy Grant strikes against him, because he's going to be on the outside. He's going to pick you apart. He's going to be dodging left and right. He's going to be on the outside the entire time. Charles Jourdain, I don't know. He's gonna have to get creative. He's gonna have to get creative. I can't envision when I see Davy Grant in my mind and the way that he's prancing around the cage. I can't envision what Charles Jourdain is gonna do to cut the cage off or cut to get in close and actually get something. I would love to believe that his grappling is levels above Davy Grant and that a submission should come. But he has to get a hold of him first, and that's if he doesn't decide to strike with him for 3 rounds. So I'm gonna likely say Davy Grant decision, and I like Charles Jourdain too. This one's just hard.
The issue too is that Jourdain is chinny, bro. I mean, like that's the other, like I
Why do you say that? He got knocked out by John Silva, who missed weight, and that's the only knock. That's the only time he's been knocked out. By the way, actually.
You know why it is? Is because I consistently confuse him with Julian Erosa. That's why.
Oh,
So
okay.
I apologize for that. Yes. Okay. Good call. Good catch on that. But still, you are correct. The only method to victory for Charles Jourdain in this fight is getting his hands on Davy Grant, getting him to the ground, grappling him. That is the strongest skill set that Jourdain has. Davy Grant is a very skilled striker. He is one of the better boxers that's under the radar in this organization, I would say. He's a little bit older, I think, is a big factor as to why people kind of fade him so heavily. I think that Jourdain, if he can be creative, like you said, if he can get him to the ground consistently, it's not going to happen off the first takedown. I promise you that. Davy Grant is going to get back up and he's going to start punching you again. So you're going to have to be able to take him down several times. But if you can get him down the third time, that's when you might have some success. So this is going to be one. If you want my opinion on what you should do in this fight, I would say take the over on the rounds. I would say take over 1.5. Um, the, you know, could Davy Grant get the job done earlier? I mean, this could be knockout number 2, perhaps. But I think that what'll happen is basically exactly how you laid it out. Grant will be picking him apart from the outside. Jourdain is going to be trying to shoot at odd angles and not getting it. And it's going to be a lot of attempts on both sides to do the thing that they're best at, not really meeting in the middle until maybe late in the fight. And then it could go either way.
Yeah, 100%. I'm tentatively taking Davy Grant until I feel the magic from Charles Jourdain hit me.
Yeah, I agree. And I will also take Davy Grant for that exact reason. Next up, Bruno Silva, the smaller Bruno Silva versus Hyung Sung Park. What do you think here?
I think once again Bruno Silva is just past his time. 35 at flyweight, it just doesn't fly. Hyung Sung Park is somebody who's a finisher and he is on his way up. I know he just took a short notice bout and got finished by Tatsuro. No,
No.
I'm racist. The other guy.
Yeah. Saruya, no? No, not Ray Saruya. Am I
I
wrong?
don't know. We can click it right here and
Oh, no,
find
it
out.
was Tatsuro.
So yes, Tatsuro.
Yeah, it
Okay,
was Tatsuro. No, you're right. Sorry.
but
I'm
this
racist.
guy, yes, but this guy, he's a finisher. Bruno Silva's been finished before. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a submission, but Bruno Silva, I mean, Josh Van Chin, this dude. So that should tell you if his chin ain't deteriorating, the dude who punches the lightest in the division puts you on your ass. So
True. Yeah, I mean that's really the big takeaway for me as well is that I mean Bruno Silva is definitely not Tatsuro Taira.
yeah.
Trying to judge Hyun Sung Park after a short notice replacement fight, a very steep differential in experience and skill level. I think that that's an unfair way to view him. If you're literally just looking at his last performance, you're not giving him a fair shake in this fight. Um, that being said, if Silva can pull this off in a kind of similar to the Jourdain situation, if he turns it into a really grapple heavy affair and just backpacks him for a lot of the fight, then maybe he just is able to lay on top of him for a while. That could be a method to victory, but I think that Hyun Sung Park will be able to pull this off. I think he's going to get the win too.
Nah, Bruno's not going to grapple, unfortunately. He's a striker at heart, and if he gets taken down, I can see him just laying there, and Pyong Sung Park's going to go to work.
Yeah. So, if this is going to be a striker's affair, then I think that Park is going to keep his peace of mind.
Oh, yeah.
LOL. Next up, Danny Barlow versus Jordan Santos. Of course, Jordan Santos, a Contender Series alum, going up against Danny Barlow, who is a fighter who has really bothered me in some of his previous performances. I have been less
Also,
than
Contender
enthused.
Series alum, by the
Yes,
way.
he is also a Contender Series alum, but one of the weaker ones, I would say. And I really don't want to like hate on him too much because he is only 9-1. But the fight before, the last fight is his lost. Am I correct?
Yes,
He
he lost to Sam Patterson.
lost to Sam Patterson, correct? Yes, indeed. So that fight obviously lost there, but the fight before that was one that I thought that he was navigating very poorly and basically skated by, barely getting the win. So,
Okay, so interesting to know. This is Danny Barlow's middleweight debut in the UFC.
ah,
So how will that fare for him? I will not say very well. He was already getting knocked out by a twink from England. So
see, that's the disrespect that Sam Patterson does not deserve, but I will still agree with the sentiment. Jordan Santos is a more natural middleweight, I would say, than Danny Barlow is going to be, even though he is tall. I think that the added weight is not going to fare well on him. We were just talking about Joel Alvarez not being any kind of specimen moving up a weight. I think that this would be a prime example of that exact sentiment playing out once more.
yeah, 100%.
So yeah, I mean, Jordan Santos coming off of the Contender Series. This is the big test. This is the exact right level of a test. I would say a guy who I'm not super enthused about going up a weight class versus a newcomer to the organization. Jordan Santos needs to make a statement here. If he does not do that, then off he goes to the next thing. He's a big underdog in this fight, so obviously this it's the unknown that's going into that number, I would say. So Jordan Santos needs to prove all of the doubters wrong with this thing, and Danny Barlow is a fine person to do it against.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm still going to take Danny Barlow.
All right, go for it. I'm going to go with Jordan Santos, huge underdog here. Probably not going to bet on it though. So, I mean, look, if you want yeah, I mean, conventional wisdom is going to tell you to take Danny Barlow. That's a fine understanding. I want to believe that because it's only because I have not been impressed with Danny Barlow in the past. That's the big thing here. If Danny Barlow was a killer, then this would be a completely different conversation. I think that this is a more winnable fight than if it was a person not making a middleweight debut and that was more impressive in their last performances.
I'm hearing you.
All right. Oh, look who's back. Kyle Prepelik is fighting Drew Dober. Good Lord, they hate Kyle Prepelik. Why do they do this to this man?
I don't know, but they're definitely going to shift this fight around. Are we serious? This is on the prelims?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Drew Dober?
That is wild work there. Yeah, this is definitely going to get shot up to main card, I would say. Either that or it's going to be the featured fight of the prelims at the very least.
Yeah, so, I mean, Kyle Prepelik, I mean, he landed a shot or two on BSD. Drew Dober is known to just go to war with everybody. So I'm just hoping for a good one. If Kyle Prepelik wins and walks out with a black eye, I mean, shout out him, but I do not doubt that Drew Dober's probably just going to chat his way through another victory.
Either that or it's really going to be time for Drew Dober to retire. I mean, Drew Dober probably should have retired 2 fights ago. He's just one of those guys that loves to fight. He is a fighter at heart, and that is what he does. So, I mean, props to him for being that type of a person. But if he loses to Kyle Prepelic, then this is definitely the time. For that reason, I will go with Drew Dober because I do think that he is the better fighter pound for pound overall. I mean, I think that the nature of Drew Dober is to go in and fight until you cannot fight any longer. But we did see him get a pretty nasty knockout in his last one, or take a nasty knockout. That is, he got
Yeah.
knocked out badly. So, I mean, I think that Drew Dober's days are still numbered regardless of this fight. But Kyle Prepelic is. This is the exact right type of fight for Drew Dober to get a bounce back and then please retire at some point, Drew. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, he's a minus 550 and he's on a 3 fight losing streak, but I honestly might say to take Prepelic. I would say
I'm
take the dog here.
all right. You certainly can. I can't count Drew Dober out even with the run that he's been on, and Kyle Prepelic is, I think, the exact right level of him to get that one more nice good one.
Yeah.
All right. Keeping this moving here. Stephanie Luciano versus Ravina Oliveira. Dude,
Stephanie
yeah.
Luciano is the Contender Series girl. She actually was one of my favorite Contender Series alums because she put on a very good performance against Ernesta Cadets. No, I'm sorry, Talisha Alencar. That's who it was, and then they rematched in their first UFC fight or whatever. And then she went up against Sam Hughes and lost split decision. She actually impressed me a while, and then I think at this point I don't see the elevation in the game anymore. I mean, losing to Sam Hughes, it looked like the same performance that I saw out of you in the Contender Series, where you got a draw and then where you got the rematch and you got the unanimous decision. It looked like the same performance. You know, you were supposed to show me that there's more to the game. And against Sam Hughes, I mean, that was kind of supposed to be a layup for you. But if you weren't game enough to get that one done, I know it was a split, but I don't know. I'm just not seeing you as a killer, so I'm just going to go ahead and tentatively say Stephanie Luciano by decision.
All right. I mean, I'm with that. I don't recall too much about Ravina Oliveira, however. Am I missing something here?
Her last fight was against the woman in the first fight, Tayanara Lisboa.
Ah, okay. Yeah. She won that fight, right?
She lost.
She lost that fight. Okay, great. Yeah, I'm definitely blanking on this person then. Um, yeah, look, I know that Stephanie Luciano. I kind of agree with you. I do think that she's sort of hitting a ceiling, which is kind of crazy to think that she's only 6-2-1, and at that point. But this should be with the level of competition that she's facing in this fight should dictate that she wins this fight. I think that they're almost giving her a little bit of a layup for some reason. I don't really
Hmm.
know why, but if that's the case here, then either win this fight or GTFO at this point.
Now, Stephanie's game, I think they gave her a good opponent to see if they're going to bring the dog out of her again. So hopefully she gets a late finish. If not, it's going to be a boring decision, most likely.
There you go. All right. Well, we will see then. I'll go with Luciano. Why not?
Hell yeah.
All right. Next up, Azamat Bekoev versus Yusrai Belgarwi. Yes, Yusrai Belgarwi. He's somebody's boy. Am I mistaken
He
here?
is the main training partner of, drumroll please, Alex Bajeda.
Ah, there you go. Yes, and he, I believe, got a really nice win. No, wait, there was some weirdness in his fight, wasn't there? I recall his fight because of there being some odd circumstances.
I'm trying to think. He got a third round knockout. It was on the
Yeah,
Contender Series.
but it was like there was something. I'd have to go back and listen to this show. Go there. There you go. Figure out which Contender Series fight he was in. But I remember there being extenuating circumstances with this fight. We had a lot of conversation about it. It was not a perform. He's very tall. I remember that too. He's
Hmm.
6'5". But I remember thinking like this is not the level that you want to see or the type of fight that you want to see. There might have been some foul issues, something like that. There was something. Trust that there was something in his fight that gave me a strong pause as to whether or not he was going to be successful in the UFC. That alone, Bekoev had been impressive at some point because I remember that name as well. So
Oh yeah, this is the dude who came from another promotion, and he came out and knocked out Zachary Reese, and then he knocked out Ryan Loder, who was the Ultimate Fighting champion. Uh,
is
and
he the dude who's funny on Twitter?
Yes, Bekoov's the funny guy on Twitter. Ryan Loder is the dyslexic king.
Yes, fucking sold. Beko taken this fight, no
Yeah,
problem.
probably. I mean, 5 inch height difference. I mean, trains with Alex Bajeda. I mean, we will see. But this is Azmat Iron Bekov, I believe, is what his nickname is. This dude's a Chad.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to what we said about it, but I'll update you at some point in the Discord,
Nice.
perhaps, because I distinctly remember there being weirdness with his fight.
Hell yeah.
Um, yeah, and Bekoev, like you said, some good work there. And when it comes to training partners, we just saw Colby Thickness get his win,
Yeah.
and he trains with one of the greatest of all times too.
Hell
So,
yeah.
eh. And last but not least, here starting things off is Melissa Croden versus Tainara Lisboa, who you just mentioned. Who is
Yes.
Melissa Croden?
Looks like an LFA, not a champ. Oh, actually, interesting. She lost to Jacqueline Cavalcante in LFA for a championship belt, and then won her next two fights by knockout. So, I
Okay.
mean, might be interesting. She has 5 wins by knockout, actually.
I mean, a female finisher, even if it's not in the UFC, as we say, that's something to keep an eye on. Lisboa, I mean, it definitely wasn't somebody that like I was like, man, I need to really keep an eye out for Lisboa.
She's got good like she's got some good striking, but once she got taken down, it was just all over. But they matched her up against somebody who only has one submission, so this could be the striker's affair that we normally get from the first woman's fight of the night. So
There you go. Yes, exactly. Striker versus striker. I mean, based on what you're telling me here, my gut would be tentatively taking the newcomer. I'd be
mhm.
saying, Melissa Croden with those knockouts. Like, if it's going to be a striking affair, then bang bang, go out and get the job done.
I agree. I like it.
All right. Well, we will find out about all of these fights, watch them all, and find out who wins when we do our individual watch alongs of this very card. That will be this Saturday. Of course, this is a 4 o'clock p.m. start time. You can find me watching along with the Vitz King at youtube.com/@Yama Show. And Chase, I know you can tell them where they can find you.
Always on youtube.com/@CP Smalls, watching UFC on Saturdays, one on Friday mornings. Yes, you heard that right. Friday mornings, the one streams. And then, of course, later on in Friday evenings, if we have the time, we will be doing Friday fun streams. So make sure everybody is keeping up with those.
Chase, the hardest working man in streaming right now, double duty on Fridays. So, what a Chad move that is. Make sure that you are subscribed and make sure that you are hanging with my boy for those one cards. I will be there when I can. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook at Yama Show as well. Excuse me, at Yama Show. And like I said, there might be some little additional content coming this week on the channel. So keep an eye out for that. Until next time, everybody, have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your week. And as always, fight on.